Okay. Thanks, Eddie.
Jay wants to say thank you for matching the graphic.
Okay.
We've got 15
Yeah.
seconds. Okay, I'll go. 10 seconds.
We go together.
At center for the Rebels, number 31, 6'8" senior out of New York, Richie Adams. At center for Utah State, number 44, 6'8" senior out of Alpine, Utah, Gary Beck. At forward for the Rebels, number 35, 6'8" sophomore out of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, Armin Gilliam. At forward for the Aggies, number 21, 6'6" senior out of Salt Lake City, Jeff Anderson. At forward for Nevada, Las Vegas, number 25, 6'6" senior out of Baltimore, Spoon James. And at forward for the Aggies, number 5, 6'7" junior out of Salt Lake, Greg Grant. Head coach for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas is Jerry Tarkanian, and the head coach for the Utah State Aggies, Rod Tuller. The officials for tonight.
Okay, we're all ready to go, and we'll have the tip-off of tonight's game after this message.
If you're an investor, here's an important telephone number from Charles Schwab.
Norm Barucki will be the referee for tonight's PCAA opener. He's in the middle, flanked by Gordon Burke and Scott Thornley. Utah State 7-2, UNLV 6-2. Again, the starting lineups. And a newcomer to the UNLV lineup a couple of weeks ago is Armin Gilliam. He's a big power guy, muscles his way underneath, 6'8", 230. He'll have quite a battle with the front line of Utah State.
You could say that this is a matchup of the power of UNLV and the size and the quickness of Utah State. However, I think UNLV probably has as much quickness as Utah State.
Grant jumping with Adams, and it's controlled by Richie Adams. Gilliam and the Rebels set up the offense. The fans rimming the spectrum here on their feet. It's tradition at Utah State. On their feet applauding until the Aggies scored their first point. Shot by Gilliam right through. Armin Gilliam, 2-0 UNLV.
He's really moved into that lineup with a great deal of poise, like he's been there for several years, and I think that's one of the problems that UNLV's had this year. A few newcomers. Gilliam's not been a stranger, though.
Beck underneath. Grant, easy two. Hyde at 2.
A broken play, and that's indicative of Utah State. Everyone, including Beck, the big guy, can pass well.
Spoon James, down low to Gilliam. Shot by James, 4-2, and we haven't had a shot missed yet.
No, that's a big basket there for Spoon James. A little bit off par here to start the season, 37%. I think he needs his confidence, and jumpers like that will bring it.
Vince Washington on a fadeaway jumper. Everybody is perfect. This might be 120 to 120.
Well, that's kind of what I was hoping for. Both these teams can pass. They like to run. They can all shoot well.
Richie Adams. Greg Grant on him. Gilliam, can he hit 2 in a row? Yes, and we still have yet to have a shot that's been missed.
I think last year when they played up here was a 93-88 UNLV won, a high-scoring game, and we can look for the same thing tonight.
We have a quick shooting percentage in both teams, 1,000 and ditto. 6-4 is the score. From outside, Floyd. Oh, my. 6-6. Dave Walden keeping our stats. Better get out your backup calculator. It might be that type of a game. After all, Utah State is averaging better than 90 points a game. UNLV 79 a game. Gilliam trying to go inside. He is fouled by Bill Floyd. Game tied at 6. UNLV got off to a rocky start, losing the opener, as you look at Jerry Tarkanian, losing the opener at Nevada Reno. Later they beat Nevada Reno down in Las Vegas. Then they went back to Georgetown and got buried by 36. Since that time, however, the Rebels have won 5 in a row. And wouldn't you know, the first shot miss of the night is a free throw.
Crowd here be near capacity, if not capacity, of about 10,000. That's got to help the Utah State Aggies. Of course, UNLV is in that position now. Wherever they go, they bring out the big crowds.
And why not? Because in the last couple of years, UNLV has won the NCAA championship. They have lost only 3 league games in that span. Shot from outside by Floyd. Wow, is that from outside? About a 22-footer. You got the three-point play in the PCAA this year, and that's from 19 feet 9 inches. Jones near the top of the circle, 7-6 UNLV. Jones very close to a three-point shot.
Yeah, it would have been. And of course now also, Mike, when the 45-second clock in the PCAA conference play goes for the entire game, all 40 minutes. I like that.
Nice pass from Anderson. Floyd on the fadeaway jumper.
You got to be
Utah State, 8-7.
Be very impressed with the poise that Bill Floyd exhibits here in the very first conference game against UNLV, maybe the biggest game he's ever played.
Thanks along the baseline. And the Rebels have a 1-point edge. What a way to start the PCAA Cats TV series. Both teams just blazing away. Vince Washington. The Aggies, there's a three-point shot. 3 points by Vince Washington. A three-point play. 11-9 now in favor of Utah State. The scoreboard has only, I think they shortchanged Utah State by 1. Yeah, Tom Stewart, the assistant coach, is yelling to the official score, hey, wait a minute, it should be tied.
And the students are all across the way yelling the same thing. I'm sure they'll make that change. Both teams, by the way, in a man-to-man defense.
You know, not many teams tried that three-point.
There's another one.
Now that makes it 14-11. And the coaches from Utah State are yelling at the official score to put it up.
And that's the first turnover we've had in almost 4 minutes of play. That's how good of a game it has been, the first turnover.
Now, Norm Barucki, the referee, is calling time and explaining to the official score about the three-point basket. This is an experimental rule tried in the PCAA this year, along with a 45-second clock. It's now been put up on the board. Utah State leads 14-11.
Yeah, I think in fairness to the scorekeepers, the official scores over there, this is the first time in this building, the Spectrum, that they have used the three-point basket this year, so maybe there's some momentary confusion because of that.
Anderson's shot is rejected. Jeff gets it right back. Into Grant. Knocked away from him. Jeff Anderson, 20-footer.
He had to shoot that higher because Spoon James was all over him. I tell you, that was not an easy shot.
Basket by Jeff Anderson, and the Aggies of Utah State lead by 5, 16-11. On the alley-oop to Anthony Jones, taking the lead pass.
There is one of the most versatile players, I think, probably in the western United States, Anthony Jones.
But generally, you see Richie Adams on the end of the alley-oop. This time, Anthony Jones. The junior transfer from Georgetown. Grant sees some daylight. Oh, he stops that. And the Aggies back on top by 5. We have played less than 5 minutes. The foul against Greg Grant. He fouled Richie Adams. That's the second foul against Utah State. And we have a timeout here at the Spectrum, and the fans still on standing in a nice round of applause and ovation for the Utah State Aggies as they lead by 5 with a little over 15 minutes still to be played here in the first half from Logan, Utah. You may have a bigger audience in the truck. Oh, great. Oh! Whoa! Mike Walden Golden and Lynn Shackelford from Logan, Utah. And that three-point basket has really turned this one around, and Tarkanian is going for the towel early.
He has a couple towels. Usually he works on the wet one, which he keeps right under the bench. Now, that was a costly foul, perhaps, that last time, because they'll want Greg Grant to overplay Adams like there, but they don't want Grant to get in foul trouble doing it.
The foul will be whistled against Richie Adams.
Now, Adams is another player that can ill afford to get in foul trouble, and he has been disqualified on fouls 4 of the 8 games they played this year.
And also, Richie Adams fouled out 12 times last year. So that's nothing new for Richie. 18-13, Utah State over Nevada, Las Vegas. Brought up by Vince Washington all the way in. Missed on the whirling derby shot. Grabbed off by Richie Adams. Banks will set it up. Stolen. Bill Floyd. Floyd off to Vince Washington. A 5-point lead for Utah State. The Aggies have never beaten UNLV. Floyd hits another three-pointer. 21-13, Utah State.
Floyd, Anderson, and Vince Washington, by the way, have the green light to shoot that three-pointer anytime.
Boy, the way they're shooting, they're going to get the green light a lot.
And there's another costly one. That's the second personal on Greg Grant underneath. Coach Rod Tuller is upset that the ball went in there. He wanted some players to help out on Adams so that Grant wouldn't have to make that play right there. In fact, he wanted Vince Washington on the right of your screen, the man to come in and double team.
Also, Greg Grant has been prone to foul out in the early going. In fact, Grant has fouled out of 2 games, and this is the 10th game for Utah State this season. Adams makes it 21-14.
Yeah, a little bit of a coaching decision. Things are going so well. Rod Tuller doesn't want to shake it up. However, does he, at this stage of the game, want to leave Grant in there and have him risk picking up his 3rd foul? As you know, in college, 5 disqualify him.
Richie Adams able to make only 1 out of 2 at the foul line. It's 21-14, Utah State. Grant swings around. There's that left-handed shot. 23-14, Utah State. 14-20. Here's a turnover. Vince Washington. Washington at the free throw line. Puts it in. 25-14. Are you ready for this? Utah State leads by 11. Adams misses the 10-footer. Comes out over to Jeff Anderson. And Utah State uncuts the fast break. Anderson takes the shot. Goaltending is the call against Richie Adams. The basket goes to Jeff Anderson. A goaltending call on Adams of UNLV.
This is a wonderful basketball game so far by Utah State. I thought Anderson was taking a bad shot. He might have gotten a break there by having Adams goaltend. Adams definitely caught it on its downward flight.
Jerry Tarkanian will send in 2 new players, Gary Graham and Ed Catchings. James lays it off, and a stuff by Armin Gilliam. Looked like he was mad at the world as he jammed that one home.
Well, what Tark's got to do is get some players that can get in there and play some defense. They're giving Utah State just a lot of open shots from the outside. They knew coming in they could be a good outside shooting team.
Utah State 27 and UNLV 16 underneath. Beck, Gary Beck. 29-16, Utah State. Spoon James, checked by Jeff Anderson. Catchings, loose ball. Who's got it? Catchings. Now it's picked up by Vince Washington. Washington drives, scores it. 31-16, Utah State. Washington already has 11 points.
Shoot, Utah State's probably saying, bring on Georgetown this way. Wow, what a start.
Adams pours in the 8-footer. He was fouled by Beck. The basket will count. Jerry Tarkanian's club down by 13 points. 31-18.
UNLV is doing the smart thing now. They're in trouble. They're way behind. They're not shooting from the outside. They're going in deep to Adams. That's really a smart thing to do. However, they won't catch up until they stop Utah State at the other end, and I think that's what Tark is thinking. He's got to get some players that will play some defense, and that's why he's substituting.
A foul on Gary Beck, his first, the 4th team foul against Utah State. 31-19 Aggies. And Richard Robinson into the UNLV lineup, replacing Armin Gilliam. So now UNLV will go with Richie Adams at 6'8", Richard Robinson, a 6'9" freshman, Spoon James, a 6'6" senior, Ed Catchings, a 6'7" senior, and Gary Graham, a 6'3" sophomore. Bill Floyd passes to Jeff Anderson. 31-19 Aggies. Bad pass, but Utah State gets it right back, and then Beck misses the shot. And we've got a foul underneath, an elbowing foul. Whistle against Frank Spoon James of the Rebels.
Now what Spoon is, I think, saying to the official, hey, he got me first, and you saw it when I got him back, which very often happens. There you see Grant underneath. Oh, I didn't see Grant do anything wrong. That was Spoon pushing all the way. Good call by the official.
Vince Washington already with 11 points. Chested there by Gary Graham. Outside Floyd, he's been dynamite from there. Fade away by Beck. Short, slapped from Grant, back over to Beck. Grant will take the shot. Rebounded hard by Richie Adams. Hits the outlet man, Gary Graham. James will pull up and try an 18-footer. Right through for Spoon James. And now UNLV down by 15, pulls to within 10. Still a lot of time left. Over 12 minutes to go here in the first half. Mike Walden and Lynn Shackelford, happy to have you with us from Logan, Utah. What a corking start. Turnover by the Aggies. Graham down to Adams. Bang! 31-23. And now for UNLV, 8 straight points. James flips it back into play. Foul against Gary Graham. Gary Graham is a sophomore, redshirted last year, realizes now he shouldn't have played him that close. He really had no chance in trying to slap the ball away and committed the personal. Third team foul, first one against Gary Graham. Timeout called here at the Spectrum on the Utah State campus. And the Aggies pleasing their hometown fans to a lot of joy and enthusiasm, leading UNLV 31-23. Talk about your blistering starts. UNLV shooting 75%, and yet they trail 31-23. Utah State has shot 79%, which has got to delight Rod Tuller. And that's his assistant, Tom Stewart, right next to him. Tarks must be saying, hey, we're not playing that badly, and yet we're down by 8.
And that Utah State, 11 of 14, some of those are from three-point range, which is 19-9 from the center of the rim, by the way. Not that far out. There's one right there.
Vince Washington, rebounded by Richie Adams. We have a change now for Utah State. Scooter Grant, that's Greg's younger brother, Nathan Grant, into the Utah State lineup. Here's Robinson on the swing around. Nice shot. Very soft drop shot there by Richard Robinson. Vegas has made a good run now. Down by 15, now trailing by just 6. Jeff Anderson is bumped by Graham, and the foul whistle against Gary Graham.
I've noticed a little bit of difference with the substitutions. I think we have a little more defensive intensity out here by the UNLV players. And as a result, Utah State's not getting those easy shots, and that's starting a slow turnaround trend here, I think, in favor of UNLV.
Inbounded to Vince Washington. He's motioning for Greg Grant to get moving, so Grant cuts down low. Now comes up high. Looking for Jeff Anderson. Bill Floyd is open. A three-point shot by Floyd. Missed that one. So the sizzling start and shooting by Utah State cooled off a little bit as the Aggies missed the flurry of shots. Foul is against Vince Washington, his first. That'll be the 5th team foul against Utah State. The Aggies going with Gary Beck at 6'8", Greg Grant 6'7", Jeff Anderson 6'6", Vince Washington 6'2", Bill Floyd 6'7". It's a bit confusing because Utah State has 2 Jeff Andersons. This is Jeff J. Anderson. Richie Adams, and Rod Tuller is saying, what about basket interference? The ball was on the lip of the rim. Officials say, nope, good. So it's now 31-27. UNLV is pulled to within 4.
That's the beauty, of course, UNLV is they got so many good players. Sometimes it's a problem, but when those good players in the starting lineup aren't playing, well, Tark can go to the bench quickly, and that's what he's done here. And I think he's found some players that are playing at both ends tough. Rod Tuller's maybe starting to think about going to his bench, and well, he should.
He's going to get Gary Beck back in, and Tark will make a change. Gary Graham will come out. Anthony Jones is back in, and Eldridge Hudson is coming in for the first time for UNLV. Bill Floyd leaves the floor for Utah State. So Utah State will have Greg Grant, Gary Beck, Vince Washington, Bill Floyd, and Jeff Anderson. Inbounded by Jeff Anderson. He leads Utah State, by the way, in assists, and he just picked up a turnover. Bad pass.
Another example of good defense by Las Vegas.
Utah State leading 31-27, but they're on a banana peel right now. Hudson misses the shot. Pulled down by Jeff Anderson. Utah State has gone without a hoop for a long time. They were leading 31-16. Now it's 31-27. And we've got a foul on Ed Catchings of UNLV.
Usually you don't see players foul one another on a long shot like that. They said on the follow-through, Catchings got him on the arm, and there he did, very definitely. Didn't affect the shot, though. The ball had already left his hand.
Scooter Grant will go to the free throw line. Grant's only 45% at the free throw line.
A freshman who's going to play a lot for Utah State in the next few years, and if not this year. And talking with his father, the judge, before the game. Of course, they have 12 kids in the family. He's got a couple daughters that go here. He says that he's a tough little competitor.
He's 21 years old, just a freshman. He served his church missionary work over in Thailand.
Tough competitor, but jury's still out on his free throw shooting.
31-27. Was there a pun intended with the judge from Salt Lake City as his father?
Well, I'll say that,
the jury is still out.
Little zone defense here by Utah State.
Catchings off the Banks from the top of the circle. And now it is 31-29. 13 unanswered points by UNLV. And here is a turnover. Jones taking that pass. Banks back over to Jones to pull up and take it. Rebounded hard by Gary Beck. 31-29. But Utah State did lead 31-16. 9.5 minutes to play in the first period. Dishes it off over to Scooter Grant, and a blocking foul called against UNLV.
Now this is what they were doing early in the game. Utah State penetrating, driving in so well, and Vince Washington was actually cut off that time
by Anthony Jones,
although the foul was called. But in the first couple minutes of the game, he was going all the way to the basket uncontested. 6
team fouls against the running Rebels. Jeff Anderson will inbound it over to Scooter Grant. Shot by Beck, right through.
Oh, Beck looks good. What a big improvement over being a part-time player last year. He lost a lot of weight in the offseason, and Beck looks impressive.
Banks counters for UNLV, 33-31. Folks, can you believe we have scored a total of 64 points, and we still have 9 minutes to play in the first half.
Here's the steal by the UNLV players. Very clean steal, and there is the unintentional foul committed by Anderson.
6 fouls now against the Aggies. 33-31, Utah State. Rod Tuller is really working on Scott Thornley, one of the officials. Lob pass, Robinson, tie game. 33-all.
The key there, of course, is the guy throwing the pass. In this case, it was Freddie Banks. A real good no-look pass. And they say Gary Beck took in excess of 5 seconds to inbound it. Another turnover.
I think that scoreboard is wrong. They've got 34-33. It should be 33-all.
Usually we see Richie Adams dunking underneath. In this case, it was Richard Robinson. There's an inbounds pass there trying to lob to someone.
There's Rich, and here is a foul against Hudson. He is irate over the call. 35-34, Utah State. At the free throw line is the man that Utah State likes to see at that line, Greg Grant, a 75% free throw shooter. Grant is averaging 21 points a game this year. Also just under 11 rebounds a game, and he's the #1 man in steals for Utah State.
An outstanding year last year. Coach Rod Tuller told us this afternoon that he's playing better than ever. Really starting to take charge out there like he feels that he's capable of doing.
36-34, Utah State, 7:46 to go, first half. Greg Grant has already served his church mission down in Australia. Grant's 24 years old, will turn 25 in March. Follow up by Floyd, Bill Floyd.
Should never happen. UNLV players were caught napping that time.
A 4-point lead for Utah State. 7.5 minutes left in this first half. Adams doesn't get the roll, and it's grabbed up hard by Beck.
Good job.
Oh, he went in there tough.
They're doing a good job in rebounding, not giving UNLV second and third chances.
Beck tried to get it down to Floyd, tapped away, and Jeff Anderson is there. Off to Bill Floyd in the corner. Beck to Grant.
Crowd wanted a hacking foul right there on Grant. Looked like he got it on the arm.
38-34, Utah State. Beck swings around, fires over Gilliam. Floyd almost pinned the ball against the hoop. Banks with it for UNLV from 20 feet out. No good. Rebounded by Greg Grant. And taken away from Grant by Anthony Jones.
Well, Grant was looking the other way. He thought he bumped into Adams, and Adams had fouled him. In the meantime, Anthony Jones, a smart player, stole it from him.
Vince Washington as Banks went for the steal. From the corner, a three-point effort by Jeff Anderson, no good. Tell you, Utah State really trying to take advantage of that three-point play. Off the fingertips of Adams, grabbed off by Bill Floyd, and we go the other way.
Yeah, there's going to be some tongues hanging out at halftime, especially maybe UNLV. You know, we're playing at a little higher altitude up there above 4,000 feet.
Fade away, Jeff Anderson. 40-36. And the Aggies have a bit of a bulge at 4 over UNLV. 6 minutes to go in the half. Anderson trying to put some defense on Spoon James. Passes down to Gilliam. And a foul on Bill Floyd. And Tuller is really working the officials on the sideline. And Tark is not quiet at his end of the bench either. 3 fouls now on Greg Grant. No wonder Tuller is so upset. Now they've changed it. It's not on Grant. They say it's on Jeff Anderson.
I was just going to say, if that's the 3rd foul, they better get someone in there in a hurry.
It's 40-37. At the free throw line is Gilliam. Harmon Gilliam. JC transfer from Independence Junior College in Kansas. And his second free throw pulls UNLV to within 2, 40-38, after UNLV was down earlier by 15 points. Almost 6 minutes to go in this period. One reason why, the shooting stats blazing by both teams.
Yeah, it is, and that's odd for UNLV because coming in, they're only shooting 45%. Now we're going to have another turnover by Utah State. They are turning the ball over more in the backcourt than they are in the front court. They're having a lot of trouble with the backcourt pressure by UNLV.
Last time out down at LSU Friday night, Utah State committed 21 turnovers, and the Tigers of Dale Brown blasted them 103-71.
Most of those turnovers seem to be before they can get the ball to Vince Washington. He really does handle it well.
Off the knee of Jeff Anderson. And they're checking the 45-second shot clock now. Shot clock is down on the floor to the side of the basket. I think it should be on top of the basket so the players could see it. James, nice move along the baseline. The game is tied at 40 after UNLV fell behind by 15 earlier. Jeff Anderson now is fouled.
This is really a great comeback, Mike. When you're playing on the road and you're down like that, and you're down the way the crowd had them going, that's amazing that they kept their poise the way they did. UNLV, there's a hold. You can really see it as Jeff Anderson drives baseline, playing defense with his arms and not with his legs. But it's really a credit to the poise of UNLV to come back on the road, not only to tie the game at some point, but to do it in the first half.
Foul was on Spoon James, his second. That breaks the tie. Utah State back into the lead. Jeff Anderson misses the second one, and the rebound is snapped up by Richie Adams. 1 point lead for the Aggies of Utah State.
And they're back to their man-to-man defense, which I think they were doing a much better job of playing against UNLV in that.
Harmon Gilliam down low. Follow up by Gilliam. Rolls it in. UNLV takes the lead 42-41.
This is the game that UNLV has, and this is the superiority I think they have over Utah State, is that inside strength. You didn't see the good rebound, and you saw Gilliam follow it and just muscle it in. They said he got hit somewhere. The ball was definitely hit, but maybe somebody got him on the body.
Rebound, Greg Grant. 1-point lead, UNLV, 42-41. Anderson has it blocked and rejected, knocked out of bounds by Spoon James, who came flying through the air to bat that one away.
James, I think, also tried to block it to where he could have saved it and caught it in bounds. That's what I liked about the play.
Bill Floyd will come out, and Jerome Johnson, a transfer from Oklahoma. He just became eligible a couple of weeks ago, trying to get a little muscle in there for Utah State. Jerome is 6'8" and 230 pounds. Jerome Johnson from Inglewood, California. Played backup down at Oklahoma to Wayman Tisdale. No wonder he transferred.
Yeah, the only way he was going to play was back up to Wayman.
42-41 UNLV. And we have a foul. It's called against Gilliam, I think. Yep, Armin Gilliam.
And we're in the bonus, so this will put Johnson in a very important position right now, 1-1.
Johnson really hasn't been at the free throw line because this is only his third game. He played 17 minutes in that 32-point loss at LSU Friday night in Baton Rouge. Utah State has made only 2 out of 6 at the foul line. Tied at 42. I would guess that Johnson is going to be on Gilliam and vice versa. Both of them were about the same size, 6'8" and 230.
Coach Rod Tueller was sensing the fact that Las Vegas was working it in more and more inside with success, and he wanted to get that muscle in there.
Utah State takes the lead. Adams misses, slapped away from Greg Grant. The foul will be against Spoon James.
Well, that's a tough call to make. Now, he definitely knocked it out of his hands, but did he get him with the body? I really like the effort on the part of James, and you hate to see a player get a foul here. Look at James steps up. Did he go over the top? And looking at it, that's a tough call to make, I think, if you're an official. 9 times out of 10, they'll call you for going over the top, even if you don't make the contact.
Ed Catchings replaces Spoon James, who has picked up his 3rd personal. And Greg Grant, a prolific free throw shooter, is at the line for Utah State. Grant wants to check everything out. Grant, one of 12 children in the Judges family.
He's having a pretty good game in points, as you can see. A little bit below his average, but I think he's doing what he's supposed to be doing, and that's getting a lot of rebounds.
Utah State, 44-42, and Rod Tueller wants to have a conference with Vince Washington. 2-point edge enjoyed by the Aggies of Utah State. Make it 3.
It's a good free throw shooting team, Utah State. Come in making 74% of their shots at the line.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, UNLV is 67% as a team at the foul line.
Just fair.
Utah State 45, Nevada, Las Vegas 42. Catchings will take about a 16-footer. Loose ball, Adams, that fingertip roll. Chased down by Jeff Anderson. Anderson off to Vince Washington. Rejected by, I think, Richie Adams. The crowd wants goaltending. Ed Catchings for UNLV. 45-42, Utah State. Anthony Jones. Gary Graham isn't much of a threat to score. Really plays tough defense. Anthony Jones checked by Anderson. Graham will take the shot, and he hits it. Gary Graham, 45-44. Utah State, 3.5 minutes till halftime. A 3-point effort by Vince Washington. 48-44, Utah State. This is just the first half, folks. We still have over 3 minutes to go. What can the second half do for an encore? Richie Adams drops it through.
And we can already see the 3-point basket having some bearing. Now, I think Utah State will make better use of it than any other team in the conference, but if it weren't for the 3-point basket, Utah State would be trailing at this point.
Jeff Anderson along the baseline, tough shot. Adams with it, hooks it out to Gary Graham. Bad pass, Greg Grant has it. Grant looking for some help. He'll take the 3-pointer, and it's off to the right. Jerome Johnson has it knocked loose, and a foul whistle against Gary Graham of UNLV.
Now, it was, I thought, a bad shot by Grant, and I think Utah State was fortunate to come out of this the way they did. Long bounce, And I think some of the UNLV players are tired. Watch how quickly when they fumble for the ball, they just dive for it. I didn't see any foul in there, though.
They called it on Ed Catchings. Graham was in there as well, but they whistled it against Catchings. Richard Robinson back in for UNLV as Jerome Johnson goes to the line. Coming out is Armin Gilliam. Johnson was at the line a few minutes ago and popped both of them through. Got a nice rhythmic
for a big man, yeah. You know what he does? He doesn't bend his legs very much. He uses his wrist real well. A lot of good rotation on the ball, a lot of spin on it.
21-year-old sophomore, Jerome Johnson. Well, we put the hex on him.
Yeah.
And we get a foul called away from play by Gordon Burke. The officials, Norm Baruki, Scott Thornley, and Gordon Burke.
So we'll just come down and shoot some more free throws. The foul goes to Gary Beck, number 44, and on him, that is his second personal.
Bob Kloppenberg, one of Jerry Tarkanian's assistants. Tark's working on the fingernails now. Gave up the towel.
I'll tell you, this has got to be a tough game for a coach. We are just going back and forth, back and forth. Great game for the spectators.
Richard Robinson is only a 55% free throw shooter. 3-point lead for Utah State. Loose ball, chased down by Hudson. And now Jerome Johnson and Hudson exchange some words.
Well, now they're buddies. They were talking to each other this morning. They used to play against each other in Southern California. I'll tell you, Hudson will talk to anyone, though. He's a talker.
And look at Tuller. Is he involved in this game? Rod Tuller of Utah State. 2 minutes, 41 seconds left in the first half. A 3-point lead for the Aggies of Utah State over UNLV. It could be a milestone tonight for 54-year-old Jerry Tarkanian. He's been a head coach on the major college level for 17 years. 12 at UNLV, 6 at Cal State Long Beach. Then if you count his 7 as a JC coach, 2 at Riverside and 5 at Pasadena College, he has 599 victories in 24 years. He could get number 600 tonight, but right now his UNLV team is down by 3, 49-46. 2.5 minutes to go in the first half. Mike Walden and Lynn Shackelford from the Spectrum in Logan, Utah. Look at that pass. Beck scores! A behind-the-back pass by Greg Grant, who seldom, if ever, does a fancy Dan play like that.
Well, of course, this was probably set up during the timeout. They set up the play they were going to run. Looked like they were a little confused, nowhere to go. But that's what's good about Utah State. A lot of players moving without the ball. Beck was one of them, and he found himself open. Grant found him.
A 5-point lead for the Aggies as Beck now misses the free throw.
They would be a tough team, Mike, to play a man-to-man defense against. I'm talking about Utah State because everyone moves without the ball so well.
Anthony Jones out in front to Eldridge Hudson. Catchings. Misses. And a foul called against, traveling against Catchings.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Catchings is in a real slump now. They're trying to get his confidence built back up, only shooting about 35%. A year ago this time, he was the leading scorer on the team, and now he's just fallen off a little bit. They need to get him going again.
Catchings is averaging just 6.4 points a game. Here is Jeff Anderson along the baseline, puts it up and hits it. Jeff Anderson. 53-46, and Anderson was fouled to boot.
He must know his game better than I do. Just as he was about to shoot, I thought to myself, don't take that shot. That's a bad shot. And it looked like it was a bad shot. He forced it and everything else.
Robinson commits the foul. Nice delayed action there by Jeff Anderson.
I think Anderson was hoping to draw the free throws. He's a 72%er at the line. He got a little bonus, and he made the basket, too.
Now it's 54-46, Utah State. So the Rebels down by 15, made a run at them, went out in front with a spurt. Utah State coming right back, 54-46 Aggies. Less than 2 minutes to go in the first half. Hudson. Nice pass by Eldridge, sets up Robinson. He misses underneath, and the foul is called against Nathan Grant of Utah State. In case you're wondering about turnovers so far, 7 committed by UNLV, 4 by Utah State.
First foul, Nathan Grant.
Clean game, well played. A lot of fouls, but not that many turnovers. Really an enjoyable game to watch in the first half, and you wonder if they can keep this kind of pace up in the second half. Keep in mind, we're going to have the 44-second shot for the whole second half, so they're going to have to do something.
Foul was on Nathan Grant. Robinson puts it in, 54-47. In case you're wondering about the PCAA, we'll have a halftime preview of the 10 teams that make up the conference. That'll be our feature at halftime, so stay with us. Robinson, a 6'9" freshman. Rebounded by Jerome Johnson. Tell you, the big guy has helped out in his limited playing time here in the first half. Jerome Johnson for Utah State. Nathan Grant. Bounce pass over to Vince Washington. Puts it in! 56-47. Vince Washington, 18 points here in the first half. A 9-point lead by Utah State. We really had some spurts by these two teams. The Aggies up by 15. Nevada, Las Vegas coming back with 13 unanswered points. Now the Aggies are on a run. Robinson misses a shot, and it's Anderson with the ball.
Yeah, a lot of white shirts in there for defensive rebounding. That's really good. Good boxing out by the Aggies.
You know, I kind of jokingly said when neither team missed a shot in the first couple of minutes, this might wind up 120-120.
It could.
It could, the way we're going, yes.
Little turnover by Jeff Anderson traveling underneath. I like the way Jerry Tarkanian is running his players in and out of the game. I think he's going to have a lot of fresh bodies second half. Of course, Rod Tuller doesn't have as many players that he uses, so he just has to go with what he's got. They might be a little tired at the end.
Richie Adams back in, and Robinson goes to the bench for UNLV. 56-47, Utah State. Richie will swing it up over Beck and hit it. Richie Adams, 56-49, and he just oozed with confidence when he got the ball. Here's a steal by Banks. Over to Hudson. He doesn't get it. Eldridge Hudson out of bounds to Utah State. Hudson touched it last.
Oh, that is a big break right there. I thought Las Vegas had an easy basket. Hudson can't miss it. Believe he missed the free throw. Had he used the backboard on his layup, rather. Had he used the backboard, he might not have missed that.
Oh, you know, on the inbounds pass, Anderson almost threw it over the head of Vince Washington.
Yeah, they're scary on that.
56-49, Utah State. Jerome Johnson.
Should go for one shot.
Anderson passes down to Johnson, shoves a bad pass into Grant, and it'll be out of bounds to Utah State. Catchings touched it last. Johnson got away with a bad pass.
I'll tell you, Utah State's had a few breaks here go their way in the first half, and you wonder if that'll continue in the second.
You just can't pass like that in heavy traffic. Inbounds it comes to 6'8" Jerome Johnson. Anderson will try a three-pointer. Yes! 59-49. The half is over. Listen to this crowd at the Spectrum in Logan, Utah. Halftime score. Utah State 59, UNLV 49. What a game. Another half coming up. Stay with us.
That net the way he did.
63-57. Jeff Anderson for the Aggies. Almost. In fact, he did lose it. Got a high bounce. James takes it off for UNLV. Fred Banks. 63-57. Into Adams, slapped away by Grant.
I think they're just not concentrating like they did at the start of the game. I'm talking about Utah State. They had that brilliant lead, and maybe they're playing a little over their head, and they've got to try to get some of that back. High level of concentration, so they eliminate those ball handling errors.
Freshman Nathan Grant, Greg's brother, back in for Utah State, replacing Jeff Anderson. A 6-point lead for Utah State, 63-57. There goes Richie on that swing around left-handed shot. Follow up, Gilliam. The basket will count. Gilliam foul.
Real smart game plan. Coach Rod Tuller knows it, that they're just working inside. The running Rebels are. Smart play. They go inside there. Everyone's trying to stop Adams, so that leaves the offensive rebounding open to Gilliam, and he puts it in over the smaller Nate Grant.
Gilliam can pull UNLV to within 3, and he does. Now the Rebels on a nice run. Down by 10 at the half, trailing now by just 3. Here's an interception by Armin Gilliam. Off to Jones. James loose over to leads Adams too much. That was a version of the alley-oop, and the pass a little too tall even for 6'8" Richie Adams. Inbounding will be Bill Floyd for the Aggies.
And they're really having trouble with this inbound pass.
Down to Scooter Grant.
Give it to Washington. There you go.
Over to back on a reverse lay-in.
See, that's the key. They get to Washington. He knows what to do with it.
65-60 Utah State. Adams over Grant, right through. 65-62, and Richie Adams, 16. Grant underneath to Vince Washington. 67-62.
That's 22 for Washington. His game high 33 this year.
That was against Utah. Banks, Gilliam over Beck. Richie Adams. That little fingertip roll on the 5-footer. 67-64. Vegas trails by 3. 16.5 minutes left in the game. Vince Washington sees some daylight, and that ball was like a soccer kick. Did it go through the uprights? Is it a three-pointer? It looked like a place kicker.
Well, first of all, they got the ball to Vince Washington, so he brought it up, of course, because he can do it very well. Going into his left, reaching in foul by Banks. I'm not sure what Banks hoped to do that time. Anytime you reach in like that and swat down, you're really looking for a foul or a whistle.
Washington, a 6'2" senior, came in averaging 22.3 points a game, and he has 23. First time he's been at the free throw line. He's an excellent free throw shooter at 84%er. Last year, during one stretch, he hit 35 free throws in a row. JC transfer, Vince Washington. Came to Utah State after a couple of years at Shasta Junior College, Northern California. 68-64 Utah State. Vince now with 24. James on the 18-footer. Rebound, Jeff Anderson. 4-point lead for the Aggies, 68-64. Anderson over to Beck. Swings it out to Vince. A 3-point effort by Washington. Chased down by Gary Graham. Deflected by Bill Floyd, and he takes it off for the Aggies. Jeff Anderson, nice pass over to Greg Grant. Grant underneath, tries a tough shot, and a foul against Richie Adams, and he is irate over the call.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I didn't see any foul in there. Nice little baseline move by Grant. I thought Adams played it really well, and Grant was in trouble. Didn't have a place to go. Here's the pass off to Grant. He makes a nice move. Adams just backs away. Never did. Norm Marucki, I think, was screened out and didn't really see that Adams never fouled him.
But it's called against Richie Adams, and that'll be his second. And we get a timeout here in Logan, Utah. The second half, just a duplicate of the first half. A 4-point lead for Utah State over Nevada, Las Vegas. Played about 4.5 minutes in the second half, and Dave Walden of Phoenix, Arizona, handling our stats. Surprises me with this one. Utah State has committed 7 turnovers already here in the second half, and yet the Aggies lead by 4.
Both teams had 9 turnovers in the first half. And yeah, Utah State, I think, has been sloppy in the backcourt. That's their problem. The first wave of the PCA conference is taking place in the Spectrum. Didn't last long, though.
Grant dishes it off over to Vince Washington. Utah State 68, UNLV 64. Washington right through. Nice motion from Washington, and that gives him 26. But more important for Utah State, it gives the Aggies a 6-point lead. Underneath, Gilliam having trouble holding on to it, rolls it in nonetheless. Will the basket count? I don't think so. Will the basket count? No, the hacking foul occurred before the shot. Foul on Jeff Anderson. That'll be his third. UNLV plays up at San Jose State Saturday night, and UC Irvine, Billy Mulligan's team, comes in here to the Spectrum in Logan, Utah, battle the Aggies Saturday night. So the PCA conference in earnest from now on, as Richie Adams tries a little 10-footer. 70-66. Richie 20 points.
Yeah, he is really playing a smart game. I like his shot selection under there. Those are shots that he can make. He's not trying to do anything fancy. Playing within himself. I think he can make those all night against a smaller team.
Utah State 70, UNLV 66. Bill Floyd passes down to Grant, lays it in. Excellent pass by Bill Floyd.
That might be something Utah State should start thinking about, is trying to go inside a little bit more, maybe get Adams in foul trouble.
Adams misses. Catchings battling for the ball along with Gilliam. And a foul whistled against Ed Catchings. And here's a bit of a surprise. Greg Grant, who may wind up as the only player in Utah State history leading the team in scoring 4 straight years, has just 11 points.
Yeah, I figured he might not have a big scoring game, that it would be the shots from the outside, and that Grant would have to concentrate on things like rebounds and blocking out.
Grant with the ball, 72-66. Utah State, 14.5 minutes left.
Got to be a foul.
Grant gets belted by Gary Graham, knocks down Jeff Anderson.
Very easy play to call, and because it was so easy, I'm surprised that Graham would play defense that way. You're not going to get away with that. He got screened. Good screen by Anderson. He decided to just knock him down, although maybe he didn't push quite as hard as Anderson acted.
Tarkanian has taken up Gary Graham now, and sure did Freddie Banks at point guard for UNLV.
He's been shuffling back and forth all night long with Banks and Graham, trying to find somebody who could slow down little Vince Washington. Neither one's been able to too much. I think that's one of the difficulties that UNLV is going to have coming up to the excellence that they exhibited last year, is their defense in the backcourt may not be as good as it was last year when they had Collins and Tarkanian.
By the way, Danny Tarkanian is here in the building tonight. Made the road trip with his father. 74-66 as Anderson adds a brace of free throws to the Utah State total. Huck a while ago was saying something to one of the officials, Scott Thornley, complaining about something. Catchings underneath. Anthony Jones missed the shot, but there was Richie Adams to slam it through. 74-68. Is he a force tonight? Richie Adams, 22 points. And he also has 10 rebounds to go with those 22 points. Vince Washington underneath the Beck. Beck is stripped of the ball. The foul against Ed Catchings.
Now, that was a mistake by UNLV, because on the press, they let Vince Washington get the ball. Well, he flies down the court. They've got a fast break advantage, and he can pass to a man underneath, and Beck just drew the foul.
No, Catchings drew the foul.
Catchings, excuse me.
And that's his 4th foul, Lynn, and he's out of the game, and here comes Spoon James to replace him.
And Beck was the one who drew it,
right,
and will go to the line.
74-68, almost 14 minutes left. 75-68. You mentioned earlier about Beck and how much weight he'd taken off. He lost 17 pounds. Worked as a ditch digger this summer from sun up to sundown, and played a little basketball during the evening.
I haven't seen a player yet in the sport of basketball that has lost weight and not been a better player. I think it always makes you better. More quickness.
75-68. In it goes to Armin Gilliam. Back out to Banks. Tempted. Back over to Gilliam. 10-footer. Richie Adams. Richie Adams with 24 points. 75-70. And we've got a foul against Spoon James. That'll be 4 fouls on Frank James.
So he's got to come right out of the game. Here's the backcourt pressure. At this point, James, you can see he's got his hand, his right arm all over Jeff Anderson.
That's also 16 fouls against the running Rebels. 13.5 minutes left. Anderson takes it to the hoop. Jeff Anderson, 77-70, and Anderson has 19 points. Eldridge Hudson, Freddie Banks. Inside to Richie.
That was good help by Beck that time on defense. He bumped Adams, actually.
Long pass from Grant over to Floyd. Flips it back into play. Can Beck save it? No. Out of bounds, UNLV.
Well, Floyd did the smart thing. He knew there was a UNLV player there, and he had to throw it way out and hope that his player could go and get it, and he couldn't.
8,450 fans here, including Utah State coach Rod Tuller enjoying this one to the hilt.
Yeah, if classes were in session here at Utah State, it would be packed with more.
Banks it through. 77-72. UNLV trails by 5. Vince Washington down the left side. Capacity here at the Spectrum is 10,270. Missing on the three-point effort is Jeff Anderson. Floyd has it. Bill Floyd, the junior college transfer from Ephraim, Utah, has really helped this Aggie ball club. Underneath, there's Floyd. Missed underneath. Taken off by Richie Adams. It's still 77-72. Utah State over UNLV. Banks on a three-point play. Banks follows it up. Gets it back out to Jones. Inside to Richie. Look at that swing around pass. I guess it was a pass, or it might have been a shot, the way either that or he lost control of it.
It was razzle-dazzle because he heard the whistle.
Richard Robinson back in for UNLV, and here comes Jerome Johnson in for Utah State. Armin Gilliam will go out for the Rebels, and Gary Beck will go to the Utah State bench.
Did they call a foul that time on Beck? If so, that's his 4th personal.
I don't think so, because that would have been the 7th foul. Nope, just a violation. Here is Jones. 77-72. Off to Anthony Jones. Utah State's got into a zone now.
Yeah, they zoned it because of the ball being inbounded baseline, and actually this might be a good way to defend UNLV. You can double team Adams this way, but you're not going to stop him apparently.
No way. 77-74. Richie Adams has 26, which ties his career high. 26 points. 11:40 left. Vince Washington. Bill Floyd. He cans that one. It was not a three-point effort. Just missed by a few inches of being a three-pointer, however. 79-74, Utah State. 11 and a half minutes to go here at the Spectrum in Logan. Robinson. Taken off by the Aggies. Jeff Anderson cradling that ball.
Anderson gets some important rebounds.
Crowd on its feet here at the Spectrum in Logan. Into Jerome Johnson. Bad pass stolen by Richie Adams. Adams against Jeff Anderson. Fingertip roll right through.
The mistake there on defense was to let Adams take it the full length of the floor. They should have gone out and stopped him about 20 feet away from the basket.
Adams took that ball 90 feet. And goaltending is the call against Richie Adams. Credit the basket to Greg Grant.
Well, now how did Adams get the basket at one end, and then he comes back and makes the goaltend? You talk about speed, full length of the floor. Look at Adams. He uses the backboard to help him climb a bit. Great shot right there.
But the ball was on its downward flight, and Greg Grant gets the basket, and Utah State now leads by 5 over UNLV with just under 11 minutes to go. What a shootout here in Logan, Utah.
Introducing Gillette Foamy Gel. The gel that gives you more than any other gel. More lubricants. Better beard setup. More lubricants. Smooth takeoff. More lubricants.
Fresno State lost tonight down in Lafayette, Louisiana, 63-56. So Fresno State, the Bulldogs, are 5-4, but it was not a conference game. And here we've got Utah State 81, UNLV 76. 10:47 left. Hudson. Left-handed shot by Eldridge Hudson. 81-78. Utah State has been ahead about 80% of this game. However, UNLV is hanging in there and making a run. Air ball by Jerome Johnson, out of bounds, Utah State.
Spoon James wanted a foul for Greg Grant going over him, and I think he maybe had a good point.
About midway point in the first half, both teams were shooting in the 70s from the floor. Now both teams are in the 60s. Look at that shot by Greg Grant. 83-78.
Well, sometimes when you're left-handed and you do a little scooper, they aren't expecting it, and they weren't.
Banks misses. Another rebound for Greg Grant. 8 boards for Grant. Floyd. Ball's taken off by Spoon James. 83-78. Vegas trails by 5. inadvertently kicked. It'll be out of bounds to the red-shirted UNLV team.
I can't believe how much time we got left in this game. We got 10 minutes left. That's so long. There's a little surprise scoop shot. See, a little late on the defense was the running Rebels that time. Didn't expect it.
Hudson misses. Follow-up Robinson. Foul called underneath. Jerome Johnson draws it. And Nathan Grant in for Utah State as we watch it again.
Richard Robinson is what you call a redshirt freshman. He redshirted last year in his first year in Las Vegas from Kennedy High School in Los Angeles. And Jerry Tarkanian has never said anything but good things about Richard Robinson. Coach Rod Tuller resting Bill Floyd, who I think is in a real big game tonight, and I don't think he's trying to relax him the way he was talking to him, but trying to get him going a little.
83-79. Vegas pulls to within 4 of Utah State here at the Spectrum in Logan. Robinson is 1 for 3 at the line. Let's see how both teams have done at the free throw line. We get a chance. Boy, he puts as much arch on that as Lynn Shackelford used to do at UCLA.
Yeah, I don't think he needs any more.
83-80, Utah State.
Backcourt foul on Eldridge Hudson there, and they're sending the wrong man, Jeff Anderson, to the free throw line.
That should put Utah State into the 1-and-1. That's the 7th team foul against UNLV. And Jeff Anderson, a 72% free throw shooter, will go to the line. Hudson comes out of the lineup, and Armand Gilliam in for UNLV.
Yeah, Jerry Tarkanian, I think, once again displeased. Seems like when these players make these fouls, sometimes in the backcourt or needless fouls, that Tark gets very upset and takes them out. Hudson, of course, all kinds of talent. Looks like he's moving pretty well after serious knee surgery a year ago, and will play a lot more as the season progresses.
20 points in this game for Jeff Anderson. And Rod Tuller said earlier today, for us to win, I've got to have a big game out of number 21. He's getting it. 85-80 as Anderson drops in a pair of free throws. Gilliam's shot is good. 85-82, and Gilliam has 20 points. Richie Adams has 28, and Gilliam has 20. So the front line producing for the running Rebels of Jerry Tarkanian.
Traveling, yeah.
Traveling on Greg Grant.
That was a big time down right there for Utah State. I'll tell you, that's a costly turnover, because now UNLV can come to within 1, and they'll start Utah State to hear footsteps if UNLV scores a basket here.
Richie Adams had a bit of a breather. He's back in. Richard Robinson goes out. So the Rebels will have Spoon James, Freddie Banks, Armand Gilliam, Richie Adams, and Gary Graham. Rebound, Jerome Johnson, Utah State. 3-point lead for the Aggies, 85-82. 9 minutes, 10 seconds left. Mike Walden and Lynn Shackelford, glad to have you with us on this first of our PCAA series. Greg Grant fouled by Armand Gilliam. Now, Gilliam was in front, and I think they called it on Gilliam, although the ball was rejected by the outside man. Yep, it's on Gilliam on a push.
I think Grant had no way of thinking he was ever going to make this basket. He just wanted to draw the foul. When he saw the players go in the air, that's when he went up for the shot. And Gilliam really didn't do much. Got him on the body just a little, apparently.
Greg Grant hasn't scored much, just 15 points, but he has grabbed 10 rebounds. That's just about his average. 10.8 coming in the rebound department. 85-82, Utah State. 9:05 left. Utah State with Greg Grant and Nathan Grant, Jerome Johnson, Jeff Anderson, and Vince Washington.
Another one.
That one rattled around before it dropped in. 86-82, Utah State. A lot of time left. Freddie Banks, will he pop from there? No way. On the drive, Banks. Nice move by Fred Banks. 86-84. So UNLV down early in the game by 15, 31-16. Battle back to take the lead. Utah State led by 10 at the half, and now Vegas down by just 2. Underneath Jerome Johnson. Will they allow the basket? Nope. No basket.
Anderson made a good pass, but he was in the air when he did it, and they said that he had the offensive foul. We're going to look at it one more time. We have the benefit that the officials don't have. Did they move over and have possession before Anderson left his feet? I believe so.
The rule reads that the defensive man has to have both feet set and be facing his opponent. 86-84, Utah State. A bucket right here could tie it. Spoon James has it knocked away. Vince Washington for Utah State. 8 minutes, 10 seconds left. Washington to Scooter Grant. Greg Grant having trouble holding on to it. Fights his way through. Shot. Yes!
Oh, that is a big basket in this game. Utah State needed one, and they got it from the guy they needed it to get it from, Greg Grant.
Banks down court has it knocked away, and we will get a foul. It looks like it's going to be against Jeff Anderson. That'll be number 4 on Anderson. And the UNLV coach, Tarkanian, is back with the towel. It's that time of the game. Nervous time already, even though we have 8 minutes left.
Jeff Anderson once again reaching in there. Well, he says he didn't do anything, but anytime you reach in, even if you find the other player's arm or body, they're still going to call a foul if they want, and I think they're justified in doing it. Just not good defense.
Bill Floyd and Gary Beck back into the Utah State lineup. They will be joined by Greg Grant, Vince Washington, and Jeff Anderson. So Anderson is still in there. Was that Anderson's 4th foul? Yes, it was. Okay. 88-85 the score.
Yeah, we got Jeff Anderson with 4 fouls. Gary Beck back in the game. He also has 4 personal fouls.
Catchings and Spoon James 4 fouls for UNLV. 88-86 with 7:56 left. Just under 8 minutes here in Logan. And by golly, this is coming right down to the wire in this PCAA opener from Logan. You don't see, however, the fact that Richie Adams has 28 points to lead UNLV. Armin Gilliam has 20. Freddie Banks 15. For Utah State and Coach Rod Tueller, the leader, Vince Washington, with 26. And Jeff Anderson with 21. And that's the way these two clubs have been firing away at one another.
Mike, this has been, I think, a fun game for the players to play in. This is what they really like, a kind of game they look forward to where they can run and shoot and play and shoot well and score a lot of baskets. And yet the defense isn't bad either. There's a lot of that.
Foul on Freddie Banks. He brushed against Greg Grant. Or it could be against, yeah, it's going to be against Richie Adams. Banks was over there, but I guess Adams got him first. That'll be 3 fouls now on Richie Adams.
Well, I think what we're seeing is the players starting to tire just a little bit, and so they're reaching in a little more, bending over at the waist on defense, and that's why we're seeing a lot more whistles blown, and that's why we're going to see a lot of free throws apparently the rest of the way.
Greg Grant has made 5 out of 7 with that free throw at the line. 89-86. Rebounded by Richie Adams. UNLV has never lost to Utah State. 5-0 against the Aggies. But the Aggies are up by 3 now. 7 minutes, 45 seconds left. In fact, UNLV has only lost 3 games in the conference in little over 2 years. Banks bangs that one through. 89-88. UNLV pulls to within 1. Vince Washington. Bill Floyd. Beck.
Shoot that. Yeah, you got it.
A 12-footer by Gary Beck. 91-88. Beck has 11. Knocked away by Greg Grant. His brother Scooter comes up with it. Look at him scoot. All the way, lays it off over to Floyd. Greg has it. Greg on an 8-footer. Right. Finally, he got a little bit of help from the right rim, and it finally dropped in. 93-88. At the other end, Grant with another rebound. But we're going to get a foul. Norm Baruki has got it against Utah State.
Crowd doesn't like it. Greg Grant doesn't like it, and I can understand. I'll tell you, Grant is really coming alive in this game. He makes a great basket down at the other end, and then it looks like he makes a great defensive play. Let's see if he did. He got the ball, no question about that, and the official said that he got him on the body, perhaps.
The 3rd personal against Greg Grant.
Yeah, but the first in a long, long time. He had 2 early in the first half, so he's okay unless you're thinking of overtime.
Banks put it through. Looked like he stumbled at the free throw line, trying to give a little body English to get that ball to drop in.
Banks is the only player on this team from the state of Nevada.
And his high school team won the Nevada State Championship 3 straight years. Freddie Banks from Valley High School in Las Vegas. Freddie's got that one. So it's 93-90, Utah State, 6:54 left. Jeff Anderson playing with 4 fouls to Vince Washington. Greg Grant against Richie Adams. Adams really intimidated, I think, Grant, and caused him to arch the ball higher than he normally likes to. Graham will take it. Graham puts it through. 93-92. It's got to be a little frustrating, however, for UNLV. They get close, but they can't get ahead here in the second half.
Yeah, well, that means that Utah State, to stay ahead, is going to need to score this time, perhaps. You know, there's a man with a ball, Vince Washington, who hadn't done much. Maybe it's time he get off a shot. Well, he's going to get free throws instead. Graham should not be guarding him that closely out there. He should cut off. Use the sideline as a defensive man. Cut him off. They can come back to the middle. Don't foul him there.
4 fouls on Graham, and the best free throw shooter on the Utah State team will go to the line.
He came up
Washington.
He came up close to him. He should have cut him off by backing off and then just cutting off the angle. Oh, well, it's easy to sit here and coach, isn't it?
Vince Washington, an 84% free throw shooter. He's 1 out of 2 at the line tonight, a total of 26 points.
Usually he's missed one. Usually a good free throw shooter only going to miss one in a game. He's going to make them the rest of the way.
94-92, Utah State. Vince Washington, 21-year-old senior from Berkeley, California. And the Aggies lead by 3, 95-92. Anthony Jones with it. Crowd on its feet here in the Spectrum again. They've been standing more than they've been seated. Robinson gets it right back. Deflected by Greg Grant. Grant has it for Utah State. Some great effort there by Greg Grant, the 6'7" junior from Salt Lake City. Vince Washington hoping to draw the foul, and he does. It's called on Anthony Jones on a push. And that'll put Vince Washington back to the line. 5:54 left. Utah State 95, UNLV 92. I hearken back, if you were with us right at the outset, the way these two teams started to go at one another and shoot so very, very well. We jokingly commented that maybe this game would wind up 120 all. We're not far from it, folks.
Yeah, we're just under 6 minutes to play. A long way to go. We're going to have a lot of free throws, so a lot of points still remain to be scored. Kind of a funny substitution. Anthony Jones, who I didn't think committed a foul there, is taken out of the contest. And I really like that Anthony Jones. I think he does a lot of things that you don't notice out there.
96-92. Washington's career high. 31 points against Utah. 33 against Utah. 97-92. So a little breathing room now for the Aggies, but not a whole lot. Crowd yelling defense. Tough to defense that guy. Greg Grant with another rebound.
Well, they bumped him a little bit on the body on going up, and that was enough to throw him off on the shot.
As you so aptly pointed out, Grant has really come alive here in the second half. 97-92.
Well, he, of course, is the man that they look to, and he is starting to respond in that leadership role. He didn't do that as much last year. He did some, but not like he's doing it tonight.
Vince Washington.
He had to shoot it higher. Good defense.
Gilliam with the rebound. Fred Banks, long lead pass to Graham underneath. James scores it. And a foul against Vince Washington. Oh, that might be a key right there. 97-94.
I'll tell you, it was a nice basket, but the pass was just brilliant. Watch this bounce pass by Graham. Brilliant bounce pass, and that set it up. He couldn't have thrown that ball any other way except to use the bounce pass. And Spoon may get a three-pointer because of it. Nice play by Graham, though. Good assist.
James, a 60%er at the line this season. Taken off by Floyd, who was bumped by his own teammate, Vince Washington. And again, Utah State has a three-point lead. 97-94, exactly 5 minutes left. Mike Walden and Lynn Shackelford And if this is any indication, what a great year it's going to be in the PCAA. Underneath, Anderson misses. James down to Gary Graham. Graham rolls it through, and again, UNLV pulls to within one. 97-96. 4.5 minutes to go. Vince Washington checked by Gary Graham. Washington, a three-point effort. Rebounded by Gilliam. Gilliam was stationed perfectly as that ball caromed off the ring. 97-96. It's been a long time since UNLV led in this game. Certainly not here in the second half. They've got a chance right here. Gilliam. Thanks. Robertson over to Gilliam. He'll put it home, and UNLV breaks on top 98-97 on the stuff by Gilliam.
Excellent patience that time. Good interior passing by UNLV. Looked like they weren't going to be satisfied with anything except the shot underneath.
Arcanians club trail by 10 at the half. Now up by 1, 97-98. Oh, what a game here in Logan, and we'll be right back. 4 more minutes left in this Titanic. UNLV has never lost to Utah State. They haven't really played that much, but since UNLV came into the PCAA, the Rebels are 5-0 against the Aggies, and now on top by 1, 98-97.
Well, of course, UNLV in 2 years in the PCAA has only lost 3 conference games, so that kind of shows you what they've done in the past and how important this game can be if Utah State could pull off what would be a little bit of an upset.
Grant working against Richie Adams. Vince gets his man Adams flying through the air. Now we're going to get a foul. Scott Thornley has got the foul against Freddie Banks.
I really thought that Utah State got a break, then they really needed a timeout, and they got that timeout. Now they're come back. Look how better they are offensively, the way they're moving and out there, a little more speed. Their tongues were starting to hang out a little.
I've seen some guys picked up, but that's one of the classics that moved by Vince Washington. Richie almost went through the rafters on that one.
But he was thinking he was going to shoot a three-pointer, and he wasn't going to let him do it.
Tied at 98 on the free throw by Vince Washington.
Interesting to me the way Washington will make the free throw, then he will walk away, come back, and set up again. A lot of shooters will just stand right there.
3 minutes, 34 seconds left. Utah State, 99-98 over the running Rebels. 32 points, by the way, for Vince Washington. Banks on a 10-footer. UNLV back on top. 100-99, UNLV.
Richie Adams wanted it to come back to his team, didn't get it that way. And again, the backcourt pressure bothering the Aggies.
Jeff Anderson to Greg Grant. We've got a little over 3 minutes left.
Yeah, and keep in mind, unlike last year, the 45-second clock goes the whole 40 minutes, so it's still in effect.
Oh, a pass over to Beck almost took his head off, yet he still scored. What a pass by Vince Washington.
And Washington looks at him and smiles. That was a bullet. I think Beck had some help in catching that and then really muscled it in. Look, it was for Beck. He really rifled it. Beck just stopped it. That's all he could do. Then he caught it and put it in. Great play.
Beck is 1 out of 3 at the free throw line. Beck has 13. Make it 14. 102-100. And we still have over 3 minutes left. And a timeout has been called at the Spectrum in Logan, Utah. The folks here have been treated to a real fast break treat. And there is more to come.
The essence of hitting.
Dedicated in December of 1970. This is the 200th game played in the building, and the fans are going to remember number 200 for a long time. Graham outside, tied at 102.
That's kind of a funny play. After a timeout, oh, an inbound steal by Adams.
But the Aggies get it right back. Floyd and Vince Washington combining on the play. 102 all.
What I was saying is usually you call a play during the timeout, and it was funny that Graham was ended up
Three-point by Anderson, a three-pointer. 105, 102. 2.5 minutes left. Has the three-point play been a factor for Utah State tonight? Graham, Ritchie, misses the five-footer. Grant has the rebound, and he's fouled. Gilliam commits the foul. That's number 5. Armand Gilliam, one of the strong men for UNLV, has fouled out.
The shot by Adams I thought was going down. Brilliant little effort by Adams. In and out, and of course the key rebound by Greg Grant, who seems like he's the only Aggie rebounding here in the second half.
I gave you a bad stat, folks. I thought that was the 5th foul on Gilliam. They say no, it's just the 3rd.
I think what you're going to see as Utah State perhaps come back to a zone defense. We will see. For Jerry Tarkanian, it's been a hard night.
106, 102. Greg Grant at the foul line. It's the 3rd foul on Gilliam. 107, 102. When the ball starts bouncing around like that, you think it might be the Aggies' night.
They are playing man-to-man, but they're laying off of them, as you can see. They should have laid off anyway.
Tough shot for Spoon James. The basket counts. James was fouled. It's 107, 104.
Great play by James, and that's just what you didn't want if you're the Utah State coach, Rod Tueller. You didn't want Gary Beck doing that. He fouls out of the game. He gives him a free throw and puts UNLV right back in the thick of it.
That's against Beck, and that is 5 fouls against Gary Beck, so he is gone.
Tough little shot by Spoon.
Now, does he put in Jerome Johnson? I would think so. Yep, it's going to be Johnson. Anderson getting a little water over on the sidelines.
Good round of applause for Gary Beck, who fouls out.
14 points for Gary Beck. And Jerome Johnson will take over with 2 minutes and 9 seconds left for Gary Beck. James trying to get his free throw rhythm at the line.
You get the feeling now for Utah State, they've only got 3 guys that are going to hurt you out there offensively. Washington, Grant, and Anderson.
Might be Bill Floyd, though. He hurt him early.
Maybe, but you get the feeling that the other 3 have the confidence and really want the ball and want to take the shot at this point. The others don't.
That much time left, and it's a 2-point lead for the Aggies. Into Greg Grant. 3 men on him, and one of them knocks the ball away. Banks with it for UNLV. This could tie it at 107. Ritchie, he's tough there. Tied at 107.
And a foul on Greg Grant.
And for Greg Grant, he picks up his 4th personal.
And Greg Grant says, hey guys, you got to help me out. See, he had no help there. It was a one-on-one. Grant can't do anything there. I'll tell you who was helping him there in a stretch was Gary Beck, who was fouled out of the game.
Richie Adams, 30 points in the game. 3-0.
That's easily his high for the year. Previous high was 26. Now he's got 31.
UNLV, a 1-point lead, 108, 107, 140 left. Floyd calls a timeout for Utah State. So after all of the great shots, the blocks, the rebounds, we come down to the final 1 minute and 37 seconds, and it's only a 1-point game. UNLV 108, Utah State 107.
Sodium can turn up where you least expect it, even in your antacid.
We spotlighted Richie Adams and Greg Grant at the very beginning of this telecast. Richie Adams, 31 points. Greg Grant, 23 points. But Adams has had a lot of help. Gilliam has 22. Freddie Banks, 21. Grant has had a lot of help. Vince Washington, 32 points. And Anderson, 24. And Gary Beck, 14, although Beck just fouled out. Anderson over to Grant, 10-footer. Jerome Johnson. Here is Jeff Anderson, banks it in. 109, 108. Utah State, 119 left. Banks. Gilliam back over to Banks.
They got to play him loose on defense. Keep it away from Adams. That's the shot they want him to take.
Graham misses the shot. Taken off by Jeff Anderson. A 1-point lead for Utah State. 109-108. 57 seconds left, and we're going to get a foul.
It's on Banks, away from the ball, and Washington, it looks like he hurt his knee on it, but I'll guarantee you he'll shoot those free throws.
Tarkanian in the pressure cooker here in Logan, Utah. And so is Rod Tuller, both of them with hands on head. It's that type of a game.
You know, Mike, I think the players are forgetting a little bit the 45-second clock. They don't have to come out to them and play that tough. The players will come to them in time because the clock will run down and they have to take a shot. Banks was playing too tight out there.
Vince Washington is 7 out of 8 at the free throw line. He's made his last 7 charity shots. Utah State leads by 1, 109-108, 56 seconds to go. 110-108. We're not going to be far from 120, are we?
Now the question is, what do you do if you're Las Vegas and you come down if you're 3 behind? They may call timeout to think about it. Do they go for the 3-point basket or do they try to work it inside?
111-108, 3-point lead for Utah State. Banks with it.
Banks would be the only one I would think that would shoot it. They're in a zone. He does.
Almost made it. Taken off by Banks again. 42 seconds left. Underneath. James stripped of the ball. Adams missed the dunk. Taken off by Bill Floyd. Over to Grant. Grant has it knocked away, but there's going to be a foul call. 35 seconds left. A 3-point lead for Utah State.
Great plays here. One, look at Greg Grant. Got the ball. Then Adams misses the dunk. It was just a little too far out. Great block, though, by Greg Grant, who has come up with some great plays.
Watch Grant weave his way in and out of traffic.
Oh, I thought Banks made a pretty good play there to almost steal it. He got called for the foul instead.
And at the free throw line will be Greg Grant. 35 seconds left, and Utah State leading 111-108.
You know, the 3-point basket, though, adds that extra dimension. There's still a lot of things that can happen. Grant misses that front end of the 1-and-1, and then look for Banks to shoot it.
UNLV has never lost to Utah State. The Rebels of Jerry Tarkanian have a 6-2 record. They have won 5 in a row since they were buried back east by Georgetown, 36 points. That was on December the 8th.
I think Jerry Tarkanian's made a smart move. He's put Anthony Jones back in the game. He's another young man who can shoot from the 3-point range, taking Graham out.
Well, what about Greg Grant with the pressure on? He is 7 out of 10 at the free throw line. Rod Tuller. Okay, Greg, he's saying. A hush settles over this crowd at the Spectrum in Logan, Utah. 4-point lead. 112-108. And the collar isn't quite so tight for Rod Tuller.
Still a lot of things can happen, though.
35 seconds left. Grant gets them both. 113-108. Banks hustles up court quickly for UNLV. 3-point effort by Banks right through.
Now it's a whole new ball game. They went into a zone and Banks was wide open from the range.
A 3-point lead for Utah State. Here's Floyd off to Jerome Johnson. Jerome Johnson misses underneath, and we've got a foul, a pushing foul against Fred Banks. Now it could have been Floyd taking the shot at the last second. He dished it off to Johnson.
Yeah, you could say they should have had a basket out of that, but I think they'll be happy to take the free throws as it is. Floyd, he didn't want it, and Johnson, I think, just let it kind of slip away, and Floyd was fouled there by Banks.
It's the first time Bill Floyd has been at the free throw line. Hits it.
That's tough. That's tough to play a whole game and go up the free throw line for the first time in that situation.
Utah State 114, UNLV 111, 20 seconds left.
Three-pointer.
That one.
Three-pointer will tie it.
Here comes Banks down.
They got to guard him.
He will put it up there. Doesn't get it. Here is Gilliam on the follow-up. Gets it. 114 to 113. And we have 8 seconds left. It's a 1-point lead for Utah State with 8 seconds, I think.
Yeah, it is 8.
Looks like 2, but it should be 8.
Yeah, it
a couple
is
of
8
lights
seconds.
are out on the clock up there, but it's 8 seconds to go. 114 to 113.
Now, all they will talk about during their timeout is how to inbound the ball. Utah State, they got to find a way to get it in. And then I think UNLV will take the foul as quickly as possible. But even if Utah State makes the free throws, that's only a 3-point edge, so UNLV still can come back with the long 3-pointer to tie. I'll tell you, with 35 seconds to go, and even if it was a 5-point game, it was still a long way from being over. UNLV has never lost to Utah State, so this would be a first.
Utah State 7-2. Proud of the fact that they've won the state college title for the 3rd year in a row, beating BYU twice, Utah twice, and splitting with Weber State. That's very important in this state. And for the 3rd year in a row, Utah State has done just that. But now, in this opening PCAA game of 1985, Utah State up by 1, 8 seconds left. Bill Floyd at 6'7" is going to inbound it, but UNLV calls a timeout.
And they wanted to take a look at how Utah State lined up, who was going to inbound and everything, and now they'll go into more detail on how they're going to defend that inbounds pass.
Jerry Tarkanian with 599 victories to his credit in his 24-year coaching career. 8 seconds left. Oh, what a game this has been. At halftime, in case you're just joining us, it was 59-49, Utah State. Utah State got off to a 31-16 lead based on a couple of 3-point baskets. And they hardly missed. Utah State at one time was shooting 79% from the floor. That's including the 3-pointers. UNLV came back, took the lead about 5 minutes before the end of the first half. Then Utah State went on a spurt. Up by 10 at the halftime intermission. Utah State led throughout the second half until 4 minutes and 30 seconds left when UNLV took the lead, and it's been seesawing back and forth.
By the way, in case you're wondering, Las Vegas has 1 timeout left. Utah State has 2 timeouts left.
It's rare indeed for UNLV to lose a PCAA conference game. Inbounds it comes to Jeff Anderson. He's fouled immediately by Anthony Jones. Anderson is a 72% free throw shooter.
They did such a good job of fouling him so quickly, they still got 8 seconds left.
That's right.
Anderson's climbing. He should have been an intentional foul, and he should get 2 free throws out of it. Not a bad claim, by the way. And, of course, the Utah State coaches are saying, hey, didn't we get a second there? Well, you know, as soon as someone touches it, you start it, and as soon as you hear a whistle, you stop it. And maybe 8/10 of a second expired, but it didn't change.
A 2-point lead for Utah State, 115 to 113. I saw this man, Jeff Anderson, beat Fresno State here last winter with a couple of free throws in the closing seconds. Got both of them. 116, 113, but the 3-point basket almost knocked away by Greg Grant. Banks will fire it up. Hits it. Tie game, 116 all. Oh, can you believe this? 3 seconds left.
I don't believe that. Now, in the last 2 minutes, Banks has been the only threat to shoot from 3-point range, and so you know the defense knows that, and they should have gotten on him. But I'll tell you, somehow or other, he's got the couple shots off that have kept them alive. Great job. Look at it. They already got the ball to half court before the clock even starts. That would have ended the game right there. Grant
almost knocked away by Grant.
There's no defense on him, though. No defense at all. They knew he was going to do it.
And he was well outside of the range. The 3-point basket is 19 feet 9 inches, but it's from the center of the basket. That's where they draw the circle for the 3-point play. Remember when the ACC started the 3-point play?
Correct.
That was from the backboard. So actually, the 3-point play was a shot of a little over 17 feet.
This distance doesn't bother me. I'll tell you what, forget the three-pointer. If I were Utah State, I would go inside, make UNLV foul me, or get yourself an inside shot. 3 seconds is not a long time, but one good pass and you can do it. Not from the backcourt, though. It's going to be tough.
I would get it to Vince Washington, your best free throw shooter, your best ball handler.
Now, they've got one timeout left. I don't think they'll use it, though, to get the ball up here closer. I don't think they can afford to waste that much time.
Everybody is congregating right at the midcourt line. It comes over to Greg Grant. Greg Grant will fire up about a 40-footer. No good. And we will go into overtime. Or did he? Overtime. Norm Baruchi is yelling overtime, overtime. And that's what we have.
I'm not sure the ball ever got a fair chance to go in. It looked pretty good from where we were sitting. Greg Grant's shot. Let's take a look at it and see if it was hit before it was even given an opportunity. I'll tell you, he took some time, set it up. Apparently it was off to the right. And Jerome Johnson grabbed the rim. I'm not sure that it would have counted had he grabbed it and stuffed it in, because he was grabbing the rim with one hand. Oh, here's a real nice angle.
Coming in, Utah State ranked 5th in the nation in scoring, averaging better than 90 points a game, and they've got 116 tonight, but UNLV has matched them, and we go into overtime.
Utah State would have won this game quite easily without Freddie Banks. I'll tell you right now, he's the only reason they're in overtime in the last minute and a half of the game with his three-pointers.
Now, because the three-point basket has been such a big factor in this one, do you like the three-point play? There are a lot of people who do not.
You know, normally I say I don't like it, but in this game it hasn't bothered me at all. I like it. The only time I really don't like it, Mike, is at the end of the game. Although I have to applaud Freddie Banks for some brilliant efforts. I like the idea of working it around, getting that shot underneath. That's good basketball, and you get 2 points, and then someone comes back and throws one from 50 feet to beat you because he makes it a three-pointer. I don't like that aspect. But in this case, I think Utah State has no one to blame but themselves for letting Freddie Banks take those shots out there uncontested.
Richie Adams jumping against Greg Grant, and Grant gets the tip, slaps it back into the court to Vince Washington. The only time you have a jump ball anymore is to start a game and each overtime period. 1:16 all, and the foul called against Anthony Jones, reaching in against Jeff Anderson. Anthony Jones has 4 fouls. Let's see how the foul picture is. Richie Adams has 4 fouls, Anthony Jones 4, Freddie Banks 3, Gilliam 3, Frank Spoon James has 4, Catchings 4, and Gary Graham already is fouled out. Grant has 4, and Beck already is fouled out for Utah State. 117, 116.
Well, this is the first of about 25 telecasts along the PCA circuit. Will they get any better than this? I don't think so.
Feel like we've worked the 4 games the opening day of the PCA tournament. 118 to 116. Jeff Anderson dropping in both free throws. Anderson has 30, and of course that's his career high. And it goes to Jones, who slams it home on the alley-oop.
Smart play, very alert play. They hadn't used that since early in the first half. Good time to use it.
118 all. We've played 30 seconds of the overtime. Outside, Vince Washington. Tap by Johnson, doesn't drop. Rebound to Gilliam. UNLV plays at San Jose State Saturday night, Civic Auditorium. And it goes to Adams, over his head, bounces it back out to Freddie Banks. That's quite an acrobatic pass by Richie Adams. 118 all. Adams over Grant. And UNLV takes the lead, 120-118. Richie Adams, 33 points. The PCAA Player of the Year last season, 33 in the PCAA opener tonight. 120 to 118. Underneath is Vince Washington, follow up by Grant. Tied at 120. Well, we finally made the 120 mark. 120 each. 3 minutes and 25 seconds left. I guarantee you one thing, nobody's gone out into this 8-degree weather here in Logan. It's been a hot time in the old town tonight of Logan, Utah. Adams on the bank. Foul is called on Bill Floyd. Tied at 120. And I think this crowd is so emotionally spent that they don't have much left in reserve.
Good move by Adams, the left-hander. By the way, his point total tonight is a career high for Richie Adams.
Richie has made 3 out of 4 at the line. 121 to 120. Now 122 to 120. UNLV, 3:09 in the overtime. 3:09 to go. This is about 3 games production for Fresno State. 122 to 120. And it goes to Greg Grant, 5-footer, tied at 122. Greg Grant, 29 points. That's a career high for Greg Grant. Here comes Vince Washington. Off to Jerome Johnson, fumbles the ball out of bounds. They had a 3-on-1 fast break, and they couldn't connect.
Now, there's an example of a new player. This is only the 3rd game, and Washington misjudged his speed. There's an excellent block by Johnson. Then he comes down and fills the lane, and Vince let him too much. He thought he was faster than that. He just hadn't played with him enough.
That's the 23rd Utah State turnover. UNLV has committed 16. Gilliam. Tough break for Gilliam. Out of bounds, Utah State. Spoon James was over the line, and James says, "How come?" Because I was elbowed out of the way. 122 all, 2 minutes left in the overtime. Greg Grant. Going to be some tired players tomorrow, that's for sure. UNLV is still on semester break. They don't get back into school until sometime after mid-January. And the winter semester doesn't begin here at Utah State till Monday. Holding foul on Anthony Jones. That'll be his 5th. He's out of the game.
Yeah, no question. Anderson's smart. Anderson is really smart. He knew how to draw the foul. And for Jerry Tarkanian, who's got about 3 or 4 guys he can put in, he thinks it's the end of the world.
Ed Catchings is back in, but he's got 4 fouls. Jeff Anderson. Let's see what Jones did tonight in the scoring column. 6 points. 122 all. Jeff Anderson, he's been tough at that free throw line in both regulation and in the overtime.
You know, Mike, Las Vegas has come back so often tonight. They were down early in the first half. They were down late in the second half. They've come back. I think they've kind of grown up as a team. I think win or lose, this could be a real positive for them in their long season. I think maybe they're more of a team now, a little bit more courage, you might say, when they're down to hang together and come back.
On the pair of free throws by Jeff Anderson, he has now made 11 in a row at the line. 11 straight. And it's a 2-point lead for Utah State.
Little zone defense here, trying to keep it away from Adams.
Banks around his man. 3-point effort by Banks. There is Richie Adams. Rebounded hard by Vince Washington.
The smallest guy on the court comes up with maybe the biggest rebound.
Sometimes he's referred to as Vince Washington, Little Vince. And he said today, hey, none of that. I'm Big Vince. And he was big on that rebound. Utah State 124, UNLV 122. Grant gets around Adams. Grant gets it. 126, 122. 1 minute left in the overtime.
I'll tell you something. Grant was an outstanding player last year, and he has vastly improved this year.
Grant with 31 points, and Spoon James casts off on a 3-point effort. Chased down by Gilliam. 46 seconds left. 4-point lead, Utah State. James shot underneath. Foul. James will go to the line.
The key there is if you're going to foul him, make sure he doesn't get basket. That's where they've been hurt, and that's what Grant did that time. I think UNLV is not sure whether they should be shooting the three-pointer or going inside. They went inside that time, and that's 5 fouls for Greg Grant. That's his 5th right there that he made.
31 points for Greg Grant, and he's got reason to mop his brow. Boy, Greg Grant really had a second half, didn't he? How many rebounds did he have? 15 rebounds for Greg Grant. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 PCAA records with this game. Utah State 126, UNLV 122. Most points scored in a game, the previous high 120 by UC Irvine against Long Beach in the 82-83 season. Both teams 241 points.
And we got 3 players setting their career highs in this game. Richie Adams, Greg Grant, and Vince Washington.
And the highest losing score, it's got to be, it was 110 by Utah State against UC Irvine 4 years ago. Utah State 126, UNLV 122. Spoon James. 126 to 123. Distraction in the back of the backboard doesn't seem to bother Spoon James.
You know, I talked about career highs. There's a 4th player who has a career high. Freddie Banks has got 27.
He did just get that one to roll through. 126 to 124. 42 seconds left in the overtime period. He's got to hurry. You've got 5 seconds to inbound it. Took him about 4. Jerome Johnson, loose ball. And James fouls Johnson, and Johnson will go to the line. And Spoon James is fouled out. How many players have fouled out? And Jerome Johnson, only his 3rd game, will go to the line. 5 have fouled out of this game. Spoon James becomes the 5th. Beck is fouled out for Utah State along with Greg Grant. And for UNLV, it has been Anthony Jones, Gary Graham, and now Spoon James. 5 have fouled out. Well, the pressure is on the former Oklahoma player now, Jerome Johnson.
He's hit him tonight. He's only missed 1.
126, 124, 37 seconds to go. Rebounded by Richie Adams. And a 3-point play could win this now for UNLV. Banks has been hot on the 3-pointer. On the drive, Banks. We have a tie game at 126. 126 all. 19 seconds left in the overtime. Jeff Anderson across the timeline calls for a timeout. 14 seconds left in the overtime. And now Rod Tuller and Utah State has a chance to set up the shot that he wants in the final 14 seconds of the overtime. More PCAA basketball from Cat Sports following these messages from our local stations.
With his news update.
Washington, 34 points. Greg Grant, 31. Jeff Anderson, 32. Gary Beck, 14. Bill Floyd, 12 for Utah State. Adams, 23. Banks, 29. Gilliam, 24. Spoon James, 15, the leaders for UNLV.
Batting up your average tonight.
Who's going to take the shot?
If they can't get it in, okay, they have 1 timeout left, Utah State. They still got 1 to play with. UNLV has 2, but I think Utah State will run it down as much as possible.
It's down to 6 seconds now. Vince Washington throws up a prayer, and we go to another overtime. Another OT. This will be the 2nd overtime. We may not have any players left. 5 have fouled out already.
Well, it's certainly to the disadvantage of Utah State. Rod Tuller wanted a foul there. Washington definitely got knocked down, but some of the ball was hit. I don't know if he got fouled on the body. We're going to get an opportunity to look again. He was trying to go underneath to someone, but no one was really moving except Anderson.
Tough defense by UNLV.
Yeah, they got him. They fouled him. A couple players got him on the body.
But no call.
Well, sometimes you won't get that call at the end of the game, but it was obvious like that. I'm surprised they didn't get a whistle.
Sometimes you won't get that call on the road, but maybe at home, but not in this case.
I'll tell you, though, Mike, with so many players for Utah State fouling out, I know there's a lot of UNLV players that have fouled out, but they've got a longer, stronger bench. I think it's a big disadvantage for Utah State. I only see them really now with Anderson and Vince Washington out there as definite scoring threats.
That's right. Greg Grant is fouled out. Gary Beck is fouled out. UNLV has lost 3. Just to repeat that, Anthony Jones, Spoon James, and Gary Graham. But the Rebels still have the big horses in there, namely Richie Adams and Armin Gilliam, and they're joined by a third, Eldridge Hudson. Catchings is in there along with Freddie Banks for UNLV. Jump ball, it'll be Jerome Johnson and Richie Adams jumping. Adams gets the tip down to Ed Catchings. Tied at 126. This is the second overtime.
They got Anderson fronting Adams. He's doing a good job.
Hudson, an air ball taken off by Scooter Grant. Long lead pass down to Bill Floyd. Vince Washington right at the free throw line. Off target. Catchings with the rebound for UNLV. Over the top. 126 all. Banks. Right through. Banks.
Only 2, though. Only 2.
126, 128. UNLV. Banks now with 31 points. Freddie Banks. Banks really coming into his own tonight. He's a little bit jittery in that point guard position at the outset of the season. But he's playing like a poised veteran now. Jeff Anderson misses. Grabbed off by Richie Adams. And Banks will bring it up for UNLV. The Rebels have a 2-point lead. 128 to 126. 3:50 left in the second overtime.
Good job by Anderson fronting Adams. They want to go to Adams, and they can't.
Catchings. And we get a foul on Ed Catchings, and he fouls out. He becomes the 4th UNLV player to foul out.
They may have to suit Danny Tarkanian up again.
Well, if you're wondering what happened to John Flowers, the big guy at 6'10" and 240 that played last year, he is redshirting.
And the Aggie fans are waving goodbye, but believe me, there's another good player that will come in there.
Catchings fouls out, but he didn't score a point.
Now that slump continues, or maybe even gets worse.
Richie Adams, Freddie Banks, Eldridge Hudson, and it's going to be Richard Robinson coming in for UNLV. Now Richie Adams has 4 fouls. Freddie Banks, let's check him. He's got 3. Hudson's in no trouble. Richard Robinson, he has 2, so no trouble for Richard Robinson. And Gilliam has 3. So the only man in serious trouble for UNLV would be Richie Adams with 4. Scooter Grant will go to the line. Pressure free throws for this freshman shooting the 1-and-1. His team down by 2. 128, 127.
It seems like offensively that's about the one thing left to them is their free throw shooting, which has been very good. They draw a lot of fouls. We got a violation.
Of what? The call was made by Gordon Burke on a free throw violation. And what he did, I'm sorry, I just did not see it. Did you?
The only thing I can think of is 10 seconds, so it wasn't that.
No. And Norm Baruchi calls time.
They were going to have an explanation.
Let's see if we can pick it up on the replay.
You're encouraged to please not throw anything out of the
Now you can't step into the lane. Oh, I see. Okay, maybe Floyd moved. Once you take your position
that was it.
Along the lane.
The beauty of replay pointed it out.
I thought that the violation was against Scooter Grant, and I didn't see Grant do anything untoward.
Now, the reason Norm Barucki stopped play right there was to have the PA announcer announce not to have any more articles thrown out on the court.
Utah State down by 1. It's UNLV 128, Utah State 127. This is the second overtime. 3 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the second overtime period.
They're zoning it in. It's about the only thing they can do right here. There's two. Nice pass. Nice pass.
And for Richie Adams, 35 points. UNLV on top by 3 now, 130 to 127.
Ooh, Adams, Washington could have backed up and shot a three-pointer there.
Jeff Adams maneuvering for the shot, and he draws the foul.
I'll tell you, that's the only thing left to them. You would think that UNLV would just back off and not foul them, that they keep doing it.
Is that on Richie Adams? If it is, it's his 5th. It's on Freddie Banks.
Hey, that may be as significant. That's his 5th personal foul. For them to lose Freddie Banks may be their most costly loss at this point. What a brilliant game he played.
Danny Tarkanian, who was the point guard the last couple of years for UNLV,
what did they
consoling Freddie Banks.
And now the Utah State fans are upset because the UNLV players have gone over and huddled up as if there was a timeout. But I'm not sure that one has been called. They do, of course, have a certain amount of time when a player fouls out to make that substitution.
A freshman from Marengo, Indiana, Chris Fancher, is replacing Freddie Banks, who just fouled out. Fancher is 5'10".
You realize he's been sitting there for 2.5 hours, and now he's got to go out and play?
Well, the rule states that when you foul out, you've got to have a substitute on the floor within 30 seconds.
Right. But the whole team went over there and huddled up. That's what made Utah State mad. I'll tell you, Anderson, this guy is something else with the line.
Keeps popping in those free throws.
And he just draws the fouls.
Anderson, 2:54 left.
That's off.
Adams with the rebound. It's a 2-point lead for UNLV, 130 to 128.
Now, if I were Utah State, I'd really pack it in on defense.
Did Hudson threw it away, or was it touched by a Utah State player? Hudson threw it away.
They said Adams touched it last. Adams says no way. I think Anderson hit it, and then did Adams hit it? Anderson? No. Well, I couldn't tell. I don't think Adams hit it.
UNLV 130, Utah State 128. Washington on the drive. Grabbed off by Jeff Anderson. What an effort by Anderson. They don't have any board strength with Grant out of there and Beck out of there. Just a great effort by Jeff Anderson. UNLV 130, Utah State 128. 2 minutes and 15 seconds left in the second overtime. Out of bounds to Utah State.
It's getting a little wild, as if it wasn't already.
Tough game for Norm Barucki and Gordon Burke and Scott Thornley to work. Johnson underneath. Oh, and ball hit Floyd right in the face. The bounce pass hit Floyd in the face, and a sure 2 points went right down the tubes for Utah State.
Well, I'll tell you, this is a whole new thing to Floyd. Junior college transfer, great pass. And he may be a little bit tired, may not just have his concentration, but he committed a foul after the ball went off.
And that's his 5th, so Floyd fouls out. Who's left?
Well, there's always Tan Tueller. It's going to be a player we haven't seen, I would think.
All right, let's run down the players that have fouled out again. For Utah State, Greg Grant fouled out. Gary Beck fouled out. Bill Floyd just fouled out. And for Utah State to replace the fouled out Bill Floyd, it's going to be Kevin Nixon, a 6'1" freshman. So when Freddie Banks fouled out, Tarkanian had to put in a freshman. Now, Rod Tueller's got to do the same thing. Kevin Nixon from Rancho Cordova, California. UNLV leading 130 to 128. 2:21 left in this overtime. Now, the players that have fouled out for UNLV, we'll give you that once again. Anthony Jones, Freddie Banks, Spoon James, Ed Catchings, Gary Graham, and Richie Adams is playing with 4. You've got more players on the bench now that have fouled out than players that are still eligible to play.
What a way to open the PCAA play. I'll tell you, Rod Tula's got to really coach now. He's got to try to come up with something. If I were him, without Freddie Banks, I would really pack it in deep. Let UNLV shoot from the outside. Most of their good shooters have fouled out.
Right now, that UNLV hex is still holding. UNLV 130, Utah State 128. The Rebels 5-0 versus Utah State. But so many close games in those previous 5.
Including last year, a 5-point game right up here. That was a low-scoring game, 93-88.
Low scoring, right.
Look at the score.
Can you imagine Boyd Brink when he gets back up into Fresno or down there in Lafayette, Louisiana, picking up the score of this game and shaking his head?
Yeah, I think the three-point basket this year might have a little more bearing than some people thought, although I think we're seeing 2 teams who will better utilize the three-point basket than most teams in the conference.
Last time I checked, Fresno State was limiting opponents to under 50 points a game, 49.6, something like that. Gilliam at the line. Cans it. And 25 points now for Armand Gilliam, 131-128, UNLV.
That's their biggest lead, Mike. I don't think UNLV's ever led by 4 or more, have they?
That's about right.
Well, they haven't now either.
Scooter Grant with the ball off to Jeff Anderson, and he will entrust it to Vince Washington to bring up. This is the second overtime. We have 2 minutes left. Utah State now trails by 3. 131-128. Kevin Nixon, the freshman, who was just inserted when Bill Floyd fouled out, off to Washington on the drive. It's rejected. I can't tell you who got his hand on the ball. Fancher to Hudson, who dunks it home. 133-128. And you already called the shot about 5 minutes ago when you said the bench strength would be the telling factor. 5-point lead now for UNLV. Anderson on a bank shot. The Aggies aren't finished yet. 133-130. 1:15 left. Fancher brings it up. Actually, Utah State may have more firepower from the three-point range now than UNLV.
Yeah, they do. And they can be patient. Long time. We got 25 left on the shot clock.
UNLV running the time down. 51 seconds left. 133-130. And timeout has been called by Jerry Tarkanian and UNLV. 48 seconds left in this second overtime period. More BCAA basketball from Cat Sports following these messages from our local stations.
You know, Vern, I keep up with all the sports action on Eyewitness News 8. Golly, Bob, howdy, Vern. They got highlights and instant replays from everywhere. Eyewitness News 8 has got you sports covered, know what I mean? They got you basketball. They got you soccer. They got you football. And they got you bowling. Do I look like I have stupid written all over me?
On the next taxi, the cabbies get their walking papers.
The firepower generated by these two teams as we come down to the final 48 seconds. It looks like 42, but a couple of lights are out on that scoreboard. It's really 48 seconds. UNLV 133, Utah State 130.
And there are 14 seconds left on the shot clock for UNLV.
Richie Adams with 35 points to lead the Rebels. Banks, who has fouled out, 31 points. Armand Gilliam, 25. Eldridge Hudson. And off some more time. Chris Fancher will put it up. Blocked by Vince Washington. Off to Jeff Anderson. To Vince Washington. Vince on the drive. Misses the shot. Taken off by Anderson and by Fancher. It'll be out of bounds, Utah State. Fancher stepped over the line.
How'd he get in there? That was a great little effort by him. I thought they were all white jerseys around.
Down to the final 26 of this second OT. And a timeout called by Utah State. Utah State sets it up with Rod Tuller. Tom Stewart, the tall man, in back of Rod. Mike Riley, another assistant coach to his right. 26 seconds. I would think it would have to be Jeff Anderson or Vince Washington on the three-point play.
I wouldn't hesitate throwing up the three-pointer. One thing, Mike, to keep in mind when you put up the three-pointer, sometimes the rebound goes along or farther away, and that might be an advantage for Utah State to pick up an offensive board. They, by the way, Utah State have a timeout left, as does UNLV.
Each team has one timeout remaining in this second overtime with 26 seconds remaining. Saturday will be at the Long Beach Arena for Cal State Long Beach hosting Cal State Fullerton. So the Rebels will have Gilliam, Szymanski, Richard Robinson, Chris Fancher, and Eldridge Hudson. Gilliam is the only starter out there. Vince Washington will be at the line. And Washington has made 9 free throws in a row. 10. 133, 131.
He could. I don't think he will. He could miss it intentionally.
I was thinking right along the same line.
Well, maybe they're going to think about it. They're going to use their last timeout.
Whatever it is, Washington with a big grin on his face as he comes over and sits down on the Utah State bench. But to do that, you've got to really finesse your way through it. Going with 11 players. 6 have already fouled out. They don't have anybody left.
Yeah, I was just going to say, everybody that's dressed is played or out there or fouled out.
UNLV 133, Utah State 131. Washington will have another free throw attempt. Made 11 in a row. 133, 132. Inbounds it comes over to Gilliam, over to Fancher. Nice play by the Rebels. Fancher is fouled by Scooter Grant. Well, what has Fancher done at the line?
0 for 0. His first free throws in college basketball.
From Marengo, Indiana. Isn't this something after all of the points scored, all of the great individual efforts on the part of both teams, it comes down to a 5'10" freshman out of Indiana, of all places, for UNLV.
And yet he cannot ice it even if he makes both, because it'll only be a 3-point difference, and you got the three-pointer. And I believe Utah State's out of timeouts.
17 seconds left. He hits it. 134, 132. Fancher's probably saying to himself, shucks, I don't know what all the fuss is about. I used to do this back home in Indiana.
Okay, Utah State's out of timeouts. They're going to have to go for the three-pointer if he makes it. Now they don't have to.
Jeff Anderson, 15 seconds left. Anderson off to Vince Washington. Washington on the drive. Doesn't get it. Taken off by Jerome Johnson. Yes! The crowd can't believe it. Jerome Johnson. 134 all. This is the first field goal tonight by Jerome Johnson, the transfer from Oklahoma. Nice touch. Tied at 134. And we're only 5 seconds away from our third overtime.
As you watch it again, watch Szymanski. He's got his back to Johnson when he takes the shot. I'll tell you, this is quite a move. If Johnson could make this move all night long, he'd be an All-American. There's Szymanski. He's got his back to it. He doesn't want any part of it. Off balance. Look like Michael Jordan.
Ladies and gentlemen, now, Len Shackelford with the keys to this game tonight. You've got 35 minutes.
The ironic part is that we have forgotten about the brilliant performances of Richie Adams, Greg Grant, and Freddie Banks.
Just to refresh your memory, before Adams fouled out, 35 points. Freddie Banks fouled out, 31 points. Gilliam is still in there, 25. James fouled out. He scored 15. And for Utah State, Jeff Anderson has 35 points. Beck fouled out. He had 14. Floyd fouled out. He had 12. Brent fouled out after he scored 31. And Vince Washington is still in there. He has 34 points. 5 seconds in the second overtime. Gilliam. 2 seconds. 1. It's knocked away by Anderson. Anderson's shot.
It won't count. It won't count.
Look at Anderson. Face down on the floor. Anderson took the ball away from Gilliam and fired up a desperation 16-foot shot.
I don't think it would have counted anyway.
And guess what? We're about to go into our third overtime.
Great reaction by Anderson. At the start of the second overtime, I think the advantage is with UNLV. I'm starting to think now it's going back to Utah State in the third overtime because of the many talented players for UNLV who have fouled out.
Watch it again. There's Gilliam. He's in trouble. Knocked away by Jeff Anderson.
See, it would not have counted. It hit 0. I think just instantly before he released it. It was close, though.
I'll tell you one thing. I know 3 officials that are glad that it didn't go in. They would have had to make that decision. That tells it all. We've had 9 players to foul out. And if you were with us at the outset, the tempo was set in the first 3 minutes. Neither team missed a shot. It was 59-49 at the half.
By the way, the timeout situation, in overtime, you get 1 plus whatever you didn't use in the previous regulation or overtime. Everyone used their timeouts in the last overtime, so now we start a 5-minute overtime. Each team will receive only 1 timeout. So coaches have got to be very conservative about that. I think they're going to really save it.
It was tied at 116 after the first overtime, 126 in the second, and now 134 all as we go into the third.
This is really a makeshift UNLV lineup.
Robinson jumping against Johnson, and Johnson swaps it back over to Vince Washington.
And Johnson turned his ankle when he came down. I think he landed on the side of somebody's foot. I don't know if he can play.
I don't know either. Kevin Nixon, a freshman, scores.
Yeah, Johnson is really hurt. The officials should stop it.
136 to 134. And I think one of the officials did see that Johnson is in obvious pain.
Oh, that's really painful when you come down on someone else's foot. That's how you can really turn it. He says he's okay. Well, he may be okay now, and he may be okay in the rest of the overtime. Tomorrow he'll probably be sore, though.
The only height that Utah State has left, Jerry Davis, a 6'7 freshman, and Jay Talley, a 6'7 freshman. Plus Tan Tuller, he's 5'9".
Yeah, Rod hasn't, for a triple overtime in a high-scoring game, Rod Tuller has used very few players.
This is the first time in the history of basketball at Utah State that the Aggies have been involved in a triple overtime. Hudson. Rebounded by Jerome Johnson. Johnson and Utah State has the ball. They have a 2-point lead, 136 to 134, but remember the 45-second shot clock. Jeff Anderson at a bank shot. 138, 134.
Anderson is all world. No one can stop him inside.
37 points for Jeff Anderson, a senior from Salt Lake City.
His previous high was 23.
Anderson again. Anderson to Nixon. Nixon scores! Eldridge back out to Fancher, who lets fly. Rebounded by Johnson. Jerome Johnson, and he's fouled. And the foul is on Richard Washington.
Listen to the crowd.
Richard Robinson the foul, and Tark has been through the wars, as has Rod Tuller at the other end.
Well, this is tough for Tark because he's got really a bunch of players who haven't played, and he'd like to call some timeouts and work with them, and he can't do that. He's only got one timeout to use. And the crowd sensing for the first time that they can really pull away.
A 6-point lead for Utah State as Johnson misses the free throw. It's 140, 134, 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. Fancher, a 3-point effort. Almost there, not quite. Jeff Anderson, Vince Washington, 2-on-1. Over to Kevin Nixon. Nixon puts it up, and it doesn't go in. Gilliam, they got a little bit fancy down there. Maybe too fancy for Rod Tuller. 140, 134. Fancher puts it up.
But he's not shy, is he?
Not at all. 140, 136. Stewart says, okay, settle down, guys. Settle down. 2:52 left. A 4-point lead for Utah State. Scooter Grant.
Give it to Anderson.
Nixon, Kevin Nixon, the freshman. Vince Washington, the senior from Berkeley, California. Scooter Grant. Shot clock down to 15 now. Shot clock down to 10. Kevin Nixon takes the 14-footer. It's short, chased down by Vince Washington.
Yeah, run it down.
A break for Utah State. Leading by 4, 140, 136, 2:10 left. You know, this game's not going to make a lot of papers. It's so late. 140 to 136, 2 minutes to go.
This is one of the best college games, Mike, I've ever seen.
Hasn't Nixon played well in a pressure role?
With a lot of confidence out there. And, you know, this is going to be tiring out the UNLV defense right now. When you play defense for this long, and look at them, they're real tired. Not much zip out there at all. Washington's just playing with them.
Shot clock is down to 5. Vince Washington will take it. It's partially deflected by Hudson. Underneath the back.
Got a new 45.
Scooter Grant, a new 45-second shot clock down. A new count on the clock. Foul is called on Chris Fancher. 1:29 left in the third overtime. Who's going to be at the line? It'll be Kevin Nixon.
The UNLV players are all standing, by the way, as are the Utah State players. That's against the rules.
Nixon, off of the bench, has scored 4 points, although this is his first time at the line. Rancho Cordova, California, up in the Sacramento area. Robinson with the rebound. UNLV trails by 4, 140 to 136, 1:20 left. Hudson on the bank shot, drops it in. 140, 138. Could we have a fourth overtime? 1:14 left in this third extra period. Washington against Robinson. Got to be careful, Robinson. Got to be careful. Washington, a good free throw shooter. That was a little short. Taken off by Hudson. 55 seconds. Hudson in trouble. Jump ball. It's the first jump ball we've had in either the regulation time or the overtime, and it'll be out of bounds to UNLV on the alternate possession rule.
Hudson really is maybe the biggest offensive threat they've got out there, and he just over-dribbled and tried to go in too deep and got himself in trouble.
The UNLV lineup is Eldridge Hudson, Richard Robinson, Chris Fancher, Leon Szymanski, and Armin Gilliam. Hudson from outside. Rebounded by Gilliam. Slapped away. Gilliam's got it. Scores it. Gilliam. Game tied at 140. And there was a foul underneath. And going to the line will be Armin Gilliam. The foul was on Nathan Grant.
Oh, Grant tried to back off. Good play by Gilliam. You know you go into a guy and they'll never call it against you, so that was a smart move.
Now, Gilliam is only a 61% free throw shooter. Game tied at 140. Doesn't get it. Tip in by Robinson. UNLV on top. 142, 140. 37 seconds left in the third overtime.
It's about the 20th time UNLV has been out of the game and come back.
Scooter Grant off to Vince Washington. Grant Inside to Jeff Anderson. Anderson has it knocked away, and the foul is against Eldridge Hudson.
They want goaltending, Utah State.
I don't think they're going to get it.
I thought maybe somebody put his hand up through the basket there. The net was definitely hit. There's the foul. No, there wasn't goaltending.
Anderson has been tough at the line. He's been knocking in those pressure free throws all night long.
Got to keep doing it, too. We only got 22 seconds left.
In the third overtime, 142-140. Anderson has 37 points in the game. That looks short. Rims.
Looked a little tired.
No wonder. Everybody is. 142-140. 22 seconds left.
It's a 55-minute game. Anderson's probably been in there close to 50.
Missed both free throws.
There's a break for Utah State.
Robinson tried to slap it off a Utah State player's uniform, his body, and it went out of bounds. Utah State.
Notice they've got a timeout. Only one, though, and they're not going to use it yet. The players keep looking over. Do you want to use it? And Rod Tueller says no.
Scooter Grant will inbound the ball for the Aggies. Vince Washington, clock down to 15 seconds, and a pushing foul against Robinson. He pushed off against Kevin Nixon.
That'll send Nixon to the line. Robinson says Nixon acted it out. There's Robinson with the push. Hard to say how much he pushed him. Doesn't look like much.
Well, Nixon was at the line a while ago. And he missed the free throw. 142-140, UNLV, 16 seconds left. That was up there too hard. Robinson with the ball. UNLV with a 2-point lead, 10 seconds left. Bancher, and going for the ball is Vince Washington. The foul against Washington. Bancher will shoot the 1-and-1. How many times did it look like UNLV was on the canvas? And the Rebels get off and come right back. Now up by 142-140.
Now they can basically put the game away with 2 free throws. Amazing.
Bancher's 1 out of 2 at the line. 6 UNLV players have fouled out. Bancher will shoot the 1-and-1. The freshman from Indiana misses it. Anderson,
they get it.
Yeah, it's going to be alternate possession. Scooter Grant. And Szymanski on top of him. It'll be out of bounds to Utah State. And we have 8 seconds left in this third overtime. Last year, remember the overtime game down in Long Beach? 4 overtimes with Fullerton. It seemed to me the score was maybe in the 50s.
Yeah, well, that was
60s.
an overtime where they just sat on it. No one sat on the ball tonight.
Well, they could sit on it. They could last year because they turned off the shot clock in the last 4 minutes. Well, we just got this from Dennis Farrell of the PCAA. This is the highest scoring game in NCAA history. Lynn Shackelford, along with Mike Walden, we've been a part of history here tonight in Logan, Utah. 8 seconds left.
You know, an amazing little stat trivia is that Utah State has only used 8 players, I think, in the game.
Well, let's figure it out.
Add that up. Is that right?
You're right.
8 players. Can you believe that? 3 overtimes, they only used 8 players? No wonder those guys are missing free throws. They're tired.
And UNLV doesn't have anybody left. They only suited up 11. John Flowers is redshirting. Ricky Collier out for the season with a bad ankle. 6 players have fouled out, so the 5 you see there for UNLV will have to do it. 8 seconds left. Who knows? It could be a 4th overtime. Vince Washington. Washington drives in, tries for the scoop shot, hoping to draw the foul. Out of bounds, 2 seconds left. Out of bounds, Utah State.
Good defense. Very good defense.
Well, will Anderson pop in a 3-point effort?
Las Vegas is going to call timeout. That's a break for Utah State. They can now set something up, perhaps.
Look at Tark. 142-140. 2 seconds left. Well, you go for the win. Try the three-pointer. Jeff Anderson, good shooter. Try to go inside. Hope you get your shot to drop. Maybe a foul. Could win at the line. Several options for Utah State at this juncture.
Yeah, but none of them are really great with 2 seconds.
Well, 3 Utah State players departed long ago. Greg Grant went out. Grant had 31 points. Gary Beck fouled out after scoring 14. Bill Floyd fouled out after scoring 12. And Tarka's probably saying, hey, that's nothing. We lost 6 of our guys along the way.
Now, it's Tarka's telling his players on the weak side to really pack it in close, but you know, you can't leave anyone wide open on an inbound pass. You just can't give them an uncontested shot, but you'd rather have them take that than something underneath. Once they get the ball underneath, there's a chance that you could foul them.
282 points have been scored here tonight. 282. Highest scoring game in NCAA history. 142-140. UNLV. A shot by Washington deflected by Richard Robinson. UNLV wins. So a game that went down in NCAA history. A great victory for UNLV and a bitter, bitter pill to swallow for Utah State. Victory number 600 for Jerry Tarkanian when you take in his years at UNLV, the 6 years he had at Cal State Long Beach, and the 7 as a JC coach at Riverside and Pasadena College. Tarkanian, victory number 600. Believe me, it is a game he will always remember. So for Lynn Shackelford, this is Mike Walden. Glad to have you along as history was made here tonight in Logan, Utah at the Spectrum. In 3 overtimes, the Runnin' Rebels 142, Utah State 140.